County Stadium in Kissimmee, Florida. It is spring training baseball. It's the St. Louis Cardinals against the Houston Astros here on Comcast Sportsnet Houston. Bill Brown and Alan Ashby for our second telecast of the season. The Astros had a rousing win, 7-6 over the Yankees yesterday, and we highlight one of the young players, Matt Dominguez.
Alan? Matt Dominguez looking good at third base. Been swinging the bat well, not playing a whole lot, 4 for 8 at this point, but Matt Dominguez is one of those young players who is touted defensively as possibly picking up some gold gloves over the course of his career.
We'll keep an eye on him throughout spring training. We have 8 more telecasts to come after this one today. And we'll take a look also at the top prospects. Some of these guys, of course, are not in Major League camp, but highly ranked players.
Well, we're talking about the Astros having 5 ranked players in that top 100 around Major League Baseball. So that's a very good figure, and that's led by first pick from a year ago, Carlos Correa, young shortstop. Tremendous size. He looks like a player that just might be a tremendous player for years to come. Singleton, Springer, McCullers, DeShields, of course, a guy with terrific speed, runs the bases awfully well. Singleton looks like a player who could be a first baseman in the big leagues very soon.
Now to today, and Bud Norris will be the starting pitcher for the Astros. We'll take a look at the guys who will take the mound after Bud today.
Well, Bud Norris does hit the hill early. We'll see Jose Veras, the closer for the year, and he'll get in there early. Paul Clemens, Reiner Cruz, Xavier Cedeno, and Josh Fields. And we've got 3 guys on that list, Veras, Cruz, and Cedeno, who will be part of the WBC Classic this year. So some guys that maybe need to show what they can do early on.
It's the Astros and the Cardinals, and it's coming your way next. Home run. Quite a bit cooler and breezy today at Osceola County Stadium in Kissimmee. Cold front has moved through. Some of the players were wearing jackets earlier as the day has turned a little brisker than what we had seen the last few days. But generally the weather's been good in Florida. We've had some rain. Infield today is not too hard, Brett Wallace said, as he was taking ground balls because of the cloud cover. And we'll check the TXU starting lineups for the visiting St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals were 88-74 last year. They finished in second place in the NL Central. They lead off with John Jay in center field. They have Oscar Taveras, one of the top prospects. He is the DH. David Freese is the third baseman, the cleanup man. Matt Adams at first base. Shane Robinson in right field. Daniel Descalzo at second. Rob Johnson, the catcher. Adron Chambers in left field. And Pete Cosma, the shortstop. Ash?
Defensively for the Astros, behind Bud Norris on the hill. In the outfield, left to right, Chris Carter gets one of those starts, and we've seen a couple of days in a row now with Carter in left field. They want to get that bat in the lineup one way or another, and Learning the outfield is something new for him. Brandon Barnes in center. Rick Ankiel, who's been swinging a hot bat and homered again yesterday. Ankiel in right, and the infield left to right. Brett Wallace. There's a big bat that they would love to get in. Tyler Green, Jose Altuve, the all-star from last year, and Carlos Pena. Carlos Corporon does the catching for Bud Norris, who a year ago was 7-13, 4.65 the ERA.
This is his second start of the spring. In the first one, he went 2 innings. He gave up 2 hits and a run. And Bud, with that good fastball slider combination, has a changeup as well. You see he's given up 552 hits in 563 innings, striking out 553, just under a strikeout per inning, showing you that he is a power pitcher, and he's coming off a year in which he was 7-13 with a 4.65. So Bo Porter hoping that Bud Norris can really develop further at age 28. Can be somebody who could be a leader on this pitching staff this year, Ash.
29 starts last year. That tells you he stays healthy. He's ready to run out to the hill. He gave up just under a hit an inning, and that's kind of a nice aspect. But 23 home runs allowed in 168 innings. Obviously a category he would like to polish up this year.
He's done well against the Redbirds. Hunter Wendelstedt is the home plate umpire. It's Jeff Nelson, Ed Hickox, and Jeff Gosney on the bases. Full umpiring crew today. And Bud's getting set to work to the talented John Jay. Jay went to Miami, Florida. He's 28 years old. And taking that pitch to open the game, and Bud Norris standing in with ball 1. Jay has 3 hits and 8 at-bats this spring. Last year he hit .305 for St. Louis. A Cardinal club that went to the League Championship Series last year. And it's 2 balls, no strikes. They've been frequent playoff participants in the last decade. Now managed by Mike Matheny, who is not here today due to illness. 2 balls and a strike to Jay. Norris has had some of his very best games against the St. Louis Cardinals. Bud with 28 career wins, 37 losses. First joined the Astros in '09. Jay puts it in the air to left field. Carter over toward left center. The center fielder takes over, Brandon Barnes, and it's out number 1.
Here's a play that I wonder what Bo Porter might think about. Yeah, it's nice to have your center fielder take charge, but in this case, you're talking about maybe that chance to watch the growth of Chris Carter in left field, get him some plays that he might be able to make. I don't know that Bo Porter would ask anybody to change things there.
Interesting point, as Carter is now moving to left field at least part of the time. That's the Astros' plan. He can play first base and DH as well. Oscar Taveras is one of the top prospects from minor league baseball who is trying to break through as a major leaguer this year after his 2nd straight batting title in the minors last year. Strike 1. He's 5 for 15 with a homer this spring. Last year for the AA Springfield Cardinals, a very fine season. 321, 23 homers. He drove in 94. And he bounces this one to second. Altuve over to Pena. 2 outs for Bud Norris. 2011, Taveras hit .386 at Class A Quad City, so he's somebody to watch on the Cardinal front. Now David Freese, and he is somebody who Cardinal fans have watched become one of the top players at his position in the major leagues. A native of Corpus Christi, Texas, but he grew up in the St. Louis area. Went to high school there, Merrimack Community College, and the University of South Alabama. Last year, 20 homers and 79 runs batted in for David. He's 29 years old. Well, yesterday, Lucas Harrell had a very good start. 3 shutout innings for the Astros. Bud Norris and Lucas are the 2 who don't have to worry about winning jobs in the Astros starting rotation, although we talked with Lucas during the game yesterday, and the way he views it, he has to make the club this spring. That's just the way he prefers to approach things mentally.
It was intriguing hearing Harrell say that. Watching him pitch yesterday, I'd say he absolutely has nothing to worry about other than take care of business. Number 1, go out there and throw strikes early and keep it down, and he did that to a T.
Norris is 8-5 against the Redbirds in games that count. This little roller goes foul, and Bud's ERA against St. Louis is 2.74. He has really gone after these Cardinal hitters going back to the early days of his big league career. and made quite an impact. So they are well aware that when they're facing Bud Norris, when the game does count, they are facing a tough competitor.
Well, I would like to think for Bud Norris that part of that refinement to make him a legit #1 on this Astros staff would be cutting down on the home runs. We mentioned a high number of dingers allowed a year ago. Get down in the strike zone, and yet he has, like that pitch, been up quite a bit here in the inning.
That one a bad hop, and Altuve stays with it. Blocks it with his chest, scrambles for it, and gets freeze. It's a 1-2-3 first for Bud Norris. The Astros are up in just a moment. Went out quickly. Now the Astros come up. TXU Energy bringing you their starting lineup today for Bo Porter. His club is 4-2 with 1 tie. TXU Energy showing you the starting 9 of Tyler Green at short, Jose Altuve at second, Carlos Pena at first, Chris Carter in left. Brett Wallace is the third baseman today. Rick Ankiel's in right. Both of those guys formerly with the Cardinals organization. Fernando Martinez the DH. Carlos Corporan the catcher. Brandon Barnes in center field.
Defensively, behind the right-hander warming it up right now, that's Joe Kelly. In the outfield, Adron Chambers, he'll be in left field. John Jay, one of the mainstays for the Cardinals a year ago as they once again wound up in the World Series. Shane Robinson in right field. In the infield, left to right, David Freese, and he is one of the big boys. Pete Kozma did a heck of a job for St. Louis, as did Daniel Descalso and Matt Adams at first base. Rob Johnson behind the dish, and again it is right-hander Joe Kelly on the hill, and he's just getting it loosened up. 16 starts a year ago, 5-7. Gave up more than a hit an inning. Walk total's not too bad. The strikeouts would show that he's not a big strikeout guy, a guy that puts the ball in play.
He worked in relief as well as those 16 starts. Kelly, 24 years old, third-round pick in 09 from Anaheim, California. He went to UC Riverside. And Kelly, breaking into that Cardinal rotation last year, now gets a chance to settle into that rotation with Kyle Loesch moving on through free agency. You know, that's been one of the interesting stories, Ash, this winter, that Kyle Loesch has been a free agent and he's still out there unsigned.
Not much interest in Kyle Loesch, and he pitched awfully well, probably the best season he has had, and a big part of that push in the postseason to get the Cardinals into the World Series.
True. Now another former Redbird, Tyler Green, leads it off, looking for his first hit of the spring after a .230 season last year with 11 homers, 30 runs batted in spring training this year. He is 0 for 9. Cardinals are 4-2. The Astros are 4-2-1 in the early days of spring training 2013. That's a chopper to third, backhanded, and David Freese with that throw. That's a pretty nifty play.
Pretty slick. I don't know if David Freese needs to make it quite as slickly as he winds up making it, but on the backhand side, already drawn in. There's the nice part of the play with the glove. To me, plant the feet and go ahead and make the easy, strong throw.
Right. He had time to do that, but it was fun to watch.
Yes, it was.
Get style points. Jose Altuve is the batter next. He made that nice play to end the top of the inning, Ash, on the ball. Hit hard at him by Freese. He got his body in front of it, took a shot off his chest on the bad hop, and was able to get the out. .290 his average last year, 7 homers. He drove in 37, scored 80 runs. And once again, he's batting second. That's been the case throughout the early games of the spring, more often than not. And this is where Bo Porter ideally would like to bat Jose Altuve. But that's dependent upon somebody taking over the leadoff spot and doing well.
Yeah, it is. And I think ultimately the Astros would like to have Altuve bat second. Get one of those guys with a little bit of speed, with that ability primarily to get on base in that first spot in the order. You know, that play you mentioned at second base. Part of what I am starting to pick up on Jose Altuve, I don't know if he ranks high in terms of gifts defensively, but he sure does grind it out.
Yeah, that's one of his main assets. Fly ball down the right field side and foul for Shane Robinson.
And that's an awfully good thing. It's a great compliment when major league coaches, minor league people talk about Altuve with a bit of reverence in terms of the way he goes at his business.
First year as Astros skipper Bo Porter has brought a nice tone to Astros camp. We'll find out more about that along the way with Sarah Eckert today. She got a chance to experience that in the clubhouse before the game. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Altuve. Yes, Altuve not only is a grinder, and it's hard to get him out of the lineup, but he also played winter ball briefly in Venezuela. He just can't sit. That's out to shortstop, and Cosma comes over on the looping liner for out number 2.
You mentioned Sarah in the clubhouse. She got a little reverence in there, didn't she, from the players?
She did. She did. She'll have a special report on Family Feud in the clubhouse. That's one of the things that Bo Porter has brought to this team this year. A little levity, and the players are into it.
Yeah, sounds like they like what's going on.
Carlos Pena, who has 2 hits in 9 at-bats, settles into that number 3 spot in the lineup today. Carlos is the type of hitter who looks at a lot of pitches. He hit 197 last year, 19 homers, looking for a bounce-back season. And that's strike 1 for Kelly.
Carlos Pena has that tendency to pull off pitches. Therefore, the huge strikeout totals in recent years.
He's been working with his dad this winter, and his dad's now living in Florida. They've spent a lot of time in the cage, and so sort of going back to the roots of when he was a youngster and his dad was working with him on his hitting.
Colby Rasmus, a former Cardinal, got in a lot of problems with Tony La Russa, the then skipper, because of that tendency to work with dad a lot.
True. Yeah, Colby's dad apparently was in the Cardinal clubhouse a lot and almost ranked right up there close to coach status.
Did he have a number?
I don't think he had a number. 2 balls and a strike to Carlos. The shift is on, and that's frequently the case. We were looking at the brand new, newly minted Houston Astros 2013 media guide before the game today, and they had a stat on Carlos Pena getting 4 bunt singles last year. And you remembered some of those from the Blue Jays Rays games, Ash.
I do. I thought they were actually pretty intelligent play by Pena.
Not bunting here. He pops it foul. Well, when the shift is on like this, it gives him an opportunity to put one down with where the third baseman is stationed.
I don't think during the course of the spring Carlos would resort to that bunt because the shift is on, but I did see a few times last year, at least probably 10 times, where he attempted to push a bunt with the shift on. Defensive player on the left side playing at a deep shortstop, as you see right here. That leaves the bunt as an automatic base hit if you get it down, and he took advantage and probably picked up 3 of those bunt singles against Toronto.
He takes that one for a walk, and that's another specialty of Carlos. He goes deep into the count. He sees a lot of pitches. He draws a lot of walks. He's on with the 2-out base on balls for Chris Carter. You know, and that's another thing, too. As far as bunting, I think players, especially early in spring training, Ash, would much rather swing the bat than put down a bunt. Maybe later in the spring he might do that. Once he's had 50 or 60 at-bats, something along those lines.
I think during the season you're trying to get an inning going. Numbers mean a lot. Here in the spring, you can't make that justification, not to anybody, not to your teammates, certainly.
Here's a powerful guy acquired from Oakland in the Jed Lowry trade. Look at the on-base average of 350, telling you quite a bit, and the .514 slugging percentage. 16 homers last year, and about a half a season's worth of at-bats. Now, you can't automatically double that and assume if he gets 500 at-bats, he'll double it. but nonetheless, against all types of pitching, he may get that opportunity to do that.
There are some who believe, and I won't drop names, but that he's got a chance of hitting 30 to 40 bombs this year. Talked to him around the batting cage this morning, and the ball just flies off of his bat. Has a different sound. And I made the comment to him rather jokingly that his bat sounded a lot different than bats that I used to use, and he said it's the paint.
The paint?
He's got a very hard paint on his bat.
Okay.
So I'm buying in.
And this little pop-up, and the pitcher watches as on the right side they collide. And Matt Adams usually wins that kind of collision. He's a whole lot bigger than Daniel Descalzo, and he makes the catch. No score after one. Well, we had an exciting launch not too far from here today as the SpaceX rocket took off at Cape Canaveral. It suffered a setback after some thrusters failed to engage, but that is being worked on right now. And everything's being squared away. Will Beard's Sanity have a few tricks up their sleeves to beat the Magic? Find out as the Houston Rockets get ready to take on the Orlando Magic tonight at 6 p.m. on Comcast Sportsnet. And Keith Jones, Rockets trainer, was out at a restaurant where we were last night. Sarah Eckert went over to him and they had a little conversation. So hopefully it's a double winning day for the Houston teams in Orlando today. A little foul ball for Matt Adams, and it's strike one. He has 5 hits and 10 at bats this spring, one of those a homer, and he has driven in 6.
Beard Sanity, huh?
Beard Sanity.
Yeah.
You can get into that, can't you, Ash?
That kind of covers things, doesn't it?
It does. Did you ever grow a beard?
Grew a Fu Manchu. It shows up on one of my early baseball cards just as kind of a joke coming into the spring. And the joke has perpetuated. Photos don't go away.
1-1 to Matt Adams. He's 24 years old. And Norris missing there. Now has a 2-1 pitch coming. Matt went to Slippery Rock University. Last year he had 86 at-bats with the Redbirds. Hit .329 at AAA Memphis for them with 18 homers and 258 at-bats. Bounces that one foul. Well, some of the mainstays, of course, with the Cardinals are not in the lineup today. That's pretty common for early stages of spring training with the team making a road trip. So the likes of Matt Holliday, Alan Craig, not in this Cardinal lineup, and Rafael Furcal is coming back from a sore elbow, and they're giving him more time to nurse that and get back. He hasn't played yet. There's a line shot into that Cardinal bullpen area going foul.
It's a pretty good club when you add Yadier Molina, Carlos Beltran, Matt Holliday.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good group.
Just checking, Furcal has played in a game. He had a couple of at-bats, but they're going to nurse along that right elbow and bring him along slower. He went underwent surgery thoughts and then decided not to have that surgery during the winter. So he's trying to nurse that elbow through. And it could be a long season for somebody who's hurting. So Cardinals are hoping that Furcal will not have that difficult experience with his elbow. Still 3-2 with Matt Adams at the plate here for Bud Norris. And Bud will join us later on. He'll be joining us after this outing. Probably a 3-inning outing for Bud Norris today. Shift is on here as it was when the Astros had Carlos Pena at the plate, with Altuve into shallow right field for Matt Adams. So once again, as it was the case with Pena, the invitation is there for him to bunt.
I liked having Lucas Harrell on after his outing yesterday. He made a lot of comments about what I thought were realistic aspects of his outing.
Yeah, I think it's rather insightful sometimes to get a pitcher on right after he comes out of the game. That's a leadoff walk.
He had a good outing yesterday. So probably a lot easier to make comments than following a tough one, but it was nice having him on.
Well, this is obviously the only time we can do that, spring training. Shane Robinson at 253 with 3 homers, has driven in 16 last year in 166 at bats. He is 7 for 11 in spring training. And looking at ball one, good defensive player from Tampa, Florida. He went to Jesuit High School there. Former Astro Jason Michaels went to that school. Lou Piniella, Dave Magadan. So the Jesuits produced some very fine major league players, and then he went on to Florida State, where he had a school record 40-game hitting streak. Known more for his glove work, though, at the major league level. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, it'll seem quite different to both of these clubs, the Cardinals and the Astros. They will play each other this year in interleague play, but it'll seem different that they're not in the same division for the first time in a long time. Showing bunt. Robinson takes a look at it. It's 2 balls and a strike. Yeah, apparently, according to the story out of Cape Canaveral, the flight controllers are making good progress fixing a problem with the orbiting Dragon capsule after some thruster problems cropped up after the morning liftoff. That's been an almost annual situation with the Astros here in spring training. There's usually some kind of launch not far from here. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and it's not that uncommon to talk to people who have gotten up at 4 or 5 in the morning to drive over there to Cape Canaveral and watch a launch down through the years.
My wife and I took in one of the last shuttle launches, and what an impressive thing that is from probably 5-10 miles away.
Yeah.
Ground vibrates with.
Yeah.
It's just it's so powerful and emotional watching it take off.
It's got to be. This Astros rotation now is something, of course, that we'll be tracking throughout the 10 spring training telecasts. Will Bud Norris be the opening day starter? That's a possibility. Lucas Harrell was almost conceding that when he talked with us yesterday, wasn't he?
Verbally, I don't know about in terms of the competition. He's going out there and getting it done.
This will be the 15th pitch of the inning for Bud. And it's in tight. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Obviously, both those guys need to be ready to pitch a lot of innings this season in the Astros' plans. And then the other 3 spots in the 5-man rotation are open as of now. Jordan Lyles certainly would hope to have one of those. That's a fair ball into the left field corner. Shane Robinson with Adams digging for third, heads for second base, and it's a double for Robinson. Second and third, nobody out.
So for Bud Norris, he gives up his first hit, and it was a shot. But now runners at second and third because of that leadoff walk. Nice quick hands. You can see what would lead to a collegiate 40-game hitting streak with a swing like this.
Yeah. Carter gets it back in. Yeah, if you're Bo Porter, and you mentioned that earlier on the fly ball that Barnes caught in the first inning, you probably want to see some chances for Chris Carter in left field and make sure that you feel confident with playing him there. Descalzo's the batter. Daniel with 3 hits and 12 at bats, including a homer. He has some competition for his job at second base from Matt Carpenter. Matt Carpenter normally has not been a second baseman, but the Cardinals are taking a look at him at that position because he has a very strong bat. Strike one to Descalzo. And that would give Mike Matheny another option with Descalzo coming off a .227 season. If he can spot Carpenter there sometimes on certain games and get more offense out of that position, it might be a way that he would choose to go. And it's all about options for these managers at this point of spring training, isn't it, Ash? Keeping every base covered, so to speak, and in terms of, having to deal with injuries and slumps and things of that nature. Boy, you like to call on that reserve if you're managing of, hey, I saw this guy play, a fair number of games at second base in the spring, and I'm confident putting him out there.
It's really not a short-term time of the year. I think every manager and GM is looking at what might happen come June, July, August, moves that have to be made or will be made for whatever reason. And it's a part of the game. There is just no question you won't get by with a short pitching staff. You're not going to use those 12 you break with all season long, that's for certain.
Tomorrow, the Astros minor league pitchers and catchers will report as they begin their minor league spring training. Up the middle and on through into center field, scoring Adams. And here's Robinson coming in as well. It's a 2-run single for Descalzo, 2-0 St. Louis.
Yeah, it's one of those innings. You start out with a walk. You never want to do that. You give up the double. But then there's a ground ball right back past the mound. Can defensively you get that done? You talked about Greg Maddux yesterday. I think about Mike Hampton a lot, a guy who was as good as anybody I've ever seen with a glove. If you can make that play, you stay away from the leadoff walk, and really nothing's going on. There's just certain things for a pitcher. If you can get it done the way you talk about, the way you know you should, then it just changes everything.
20-pitch inning for Bud. Now the catcher, Rob Johnson, comes up. He's 0 for 7 this spring. Slider in the dirt, ball one to Johnson. Yadier Molina, somebody you mentioned earlier, is the mainstay at catcher for the Redbirds. Last year, Johnson played at Buffalo and in AAA hit .207 with 4 homers, driving in 15. Adrian Chambers is next. Well, now with the Astros making their exit from the NL Central and moving to the AL West, each division in baseball will have 5 teams. It's perfectly symmetrical, and that means with 2 15-team leagues, there will be interleague play constantly this year. And to ease the Astros' move to the American League, they're playing all their former rivals in the NL Central in interleague play this season. So they will maintain a certain degree of familiarity with the Redbirds.
I'll be curious to see how eased it will be in terms of going through that American League West.
Yeah. And tied for a ball. Well, the Cardinals are in Houston for interleague play June 25th and 26th. And the Astros are in St. Louis July 9th and 10th. 2 balls, no strikes. And the Astros play not only all the NL Central teams, but one from the West, Colorado. Bouncer up the middle. Green with a flip. Here's a quick turn by Altuve. Very nice. He had his back turned, of course, to the first baseman with where Green had to field the ball and then made that quick turn.
That really is great presence by Altuve. It's a play that as a shortstop for Green, you can only do what you can do. You go back of the bag and try to make a quick flip. But as a second baseman, you've got to realize what's coming, how close it is to getting on you at second base and make that very quick turn. And that's exactly what Altuve does. Oh, that's sweet.
It really is nice. Adrian Chambers is 3 for 12 in spring training, and he puts down a bunt. It goes foul. He is flying up that first base line. Good hustling outfielder. Down through the years, Cardinals have had a lot of speedy players. In fact, one of their speediest players is now a coach in the Astros minor league system, Vince Coleman. Vince is working with the young base runners.
As a catcher, there were certain guys I just hated to see get on base early in a ball game, and Vince Coleman was probably at the top of that list. Tim Raines certainly among that list of guys. Vince Coleman was awfully tough.
Bouncer backhanded. And the former Gold Glover, Carlos Pena, makes it out number 3. 2 runs coming in on 2 hits with nobody left for St. Louis. The Redbirds break the scoring ice. They lead it 2-0.
A passion.
Don't miss your chance to purchase 2013 Astros regular season tickets. Tickets for individual games, including opening night, go on sale for the first time this season. That's Monday. For information on all the biggest games, call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit Astros.com.
It all gets started with the Texas Rangers in Houston at Minute Maid Park on Sunday, March 31st. That's the official Major League opener this year. And then that series, after an off day, on April 1st continues the 2nd and 3rd. The Oakland A's come in on April 5th, 6th, and 7th in that first 6-game homestand of the year. And that homestand is preceded by 2 spring training games with the Chicago Cubs, March 29th and 30th at Minute Maid Park. So the Astros young players will have more than a week at home to settle into some new digs. Guys can do their apartment hunting or condo searching or whatever they're going to do to get all settled for the season. Ash.
Heck with the young players. I'll get my lawn mowed and everything will be just great.
Spiffy new spring training unis on display, and
they are spiffy, I might add.
Yeah,
that's a good look. I like the splash of all the old-time colors for the organization up and down the sides.
And those will be the alternate game jerseys as well when we get underway. There you see the new logos. They've been applied throughout this complex, as well as at Minute Maid Park back in Houston. Brett Wallace gets it going, and the Cardinals' first-round draft choice takes ball 1. He's 5 for 12 with a homer and 4 runs batted in for Brett, and playing third base today after a .253 season with 9 homers, 24 runs batted in.
Well, you've had a chance to watch Brett Wallace. Is this potentially that breakout time of his career?
I think it is, Ash. He's swinging the bat so much better this spring so far. Brett's 26 years old. Cardinals drafted him in 08 with the 13th overall pick after he came out of Arizona State, where he won a Triple Crown in the Pac-10, was Player of the Year. But he is really thumping the ball this spring.
Do you think it makes some difference to him where he plays defensively?
He doesn't seem to mind. He grounds out to Adams there. He realizes that the club needs to take a look at him at third, and he said, we have so many guys who are playing first base. That allows the first baseman to get more at-bats there, and he said, I need to take my ground balls and play some third base so I can be ready for that position if I'm called on to play there as well.
You get that opportunity to finally play on a regular basis. You know, you need to be thrilled to play at any position.
Now the former Cardinal Rick Ankiel, you can tell the Cardinal faithful have made the trip up from Jupiter. They're applauding him. That's the home run swing yesterday for Rick.
Had a little wind blowing out, but he's been juicing it pretty well. That wind today blowing kind of across the field, almost from left center toward the right field foul pole.
1 ball, 1 strike to Rick with 6 hits and 9 at-bats. He has a homer that you saw on yesterday's swing. He also has a double and a triple. Rick has mixed in a little bit of every type of hit so far. He is 33 years old, a native of Florida from Fort Pierce. He was 11-7 as a pitcher in 2000 for the Cardinals. But he said after yesterday's game, it's a lot more fun to hit a home run than to strike out somebody as a pitcher.
Yeah, I guess that would be a fair comparison. Hitting a home run, I don't think there's anything better.
He takes a walk.
Certainly in this game, pitchers, if they wind up getting a base hit, you'll hear about it all year long. So home run is really special.
Now Fernando Martinez, 24-year-old outfielder, checks in with 2 hits in 7 at-bats, including a homer. Fernando had 118 at-bats with the Astros last year, hitting .237 with 6 homers, 14 runs batted in. He has good power. Strike 1 to him. He's DHing today. He's from the Dominican Republic and was considering playing in the World Baseball Classic. And Jeff Luhnow had made a comment in a publication, and well, you know, that may hurt his chances to make the Astros opening day club. Well, shortly after that, he declined to play in the World Baseball Classic. Probably a very good move on his part. Bouncer, and could be 2. There's the flip by Descalso. Wow. No double play, but that was slick as he got it to Cosma. And that one was not all that easy to handle for Descalso.
The toss part of this play becomes awfully difficult because as you continue to your right, Descalso backhands, and then there's another step or so, and then instead of having that easy flip toward the bag, you actually have to swing it back to the bag.
Well done to get 1 out on that and make it close for a double play. Carlos Corporon with 4 hits and 6 at-bats has 2 runs batted in. 2 of his 4 hits have been doubles for the switch-hitting catcher, who figures to be the backup. And Jason Castro has looked good. The Astros would love to see Castro catch maybe 120 games or so this year.
I'm really early on in the process of watching these young catchers, but I will say this: in not crucial situations so far in the game today, Corporon, with pitches in the dirt, is going down and working on it as if it was a big situation. Really good technique.
It is. It's a shot to center field. John Jay puts it away for the 3rd out. No runs, no hits, and a man stranded. 2-0 Redbirds after 2. Cardinals 2, Astros nothing. Subscribe to MLB.TV Premium today and watch over 150 select spring training games live, plus every regular season game live or on demand on over 250 mobile and connected devices. Visit Astros.com for details. And if you're puzzled by how to work those mobile devices, ask Alan Ashby. He has all that down cold.
You know what, Brownie? I think you're misreading that card there.
I frequently do. Well, I'll give you a shot at it next time.
Well, okay.
You want to be that way. Hey, Rod and Debbie Charles are here today, big Astros fans. Rod took your picture again today. He took your picture yesterday and you had your eyes closed.
Well, I'm going to go that way all spring for Rod. He is going to have quite a collection.
Some of the fans here on a rather chilly day.
Yeah.
A jacket day, isn't it?
Jacket and Kleenex day.
Yeah. Sniffles very much in order. A good day for the family to be out. here at Osceola County Stadium. Before the game, Bo Porter meets with the media every day, and he hands out nuggets every now and then when asked certain questions. The topic of roster composition came up today, and he indicated that he's thinking about 12 pitchers and 13 position players for his opening day club.
Yeah, I don't think that's much of a surprise. The one thing that happens early on is you do get occasional off days, and a lot of teams will figure they can go with 4 starters, therefore you don't need that extra guy in the bullpen. But for Bo, first-time manager, chance to kind of work out the kinks and see how he likes to play it.
Pete Kozma looks at that one for strike one. Pete is having a good spring in the early days, 4 for 13 with a homer and a double. He's 24 years old, from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Played for a state championship team in high school at Owasso, Oklahoma. It's no balls, 2 strikes. Kozma was a first-round pick in 07. He was the 18th player drafted that year in the first round. Astros getting ready to make the first pick in the draft again this year. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And we're talking about these guys. You mentioned Correa, who was their first rounder and the first overall pick last year. It's going to be fun to watch those guys when they get into minor league camp. And the position players won't report to minor league camp for another 4 or 5 days or so. So at that point, Bo might be selecting a Carlos Correa to get into an occasional game with the Astros. What happens is they usually call players over from minor league camp occasionally for a home game or maybe a road trip. And he might get a few at-bats, a little playing time, just to give him a feel for the minor leagues. That's one thing the Astros are really trying to do is give their top guys, the top prospects who are not in big league camp, a little bit of a feel for what the major league team is all about.
Carlos Correa, not a clear-cut choice for the #1 pick a year ago, but in Chosen, he's a guy that when you talk to people about him, they say he's big. He's just he's like Alex Rodriguez or like Cal Ripken, that big shortstop that probably you could anticipate a great deal of offense from at some point.
And last year, he spent a lot of time here in Florida. And Kozma goes down on strikes. Strikeout #1 for Bud Norris. This is probably his final inning of the day.
Just high cheese. Let it fly and take your chances. But I think maybe a little more up in the zone consistently today for Norris than he would like.
Yep, he is up. And we'll ask him about that later on when he comes out of the game and does an interview with us. John Jay takes a look at strike one. Certainly nothing of any major concern. It's all about getting the pitches in, the work in at this early stage for these starters as they stretch it out.
I think depending on how things go on the field, pitchers will tell you, well, this time of the spring is all about just getting my arm loose, starting to feel good, getting that positive rhythm. But when they go out and pitch like Lucas Harrell did yesterday, he talked about trying to get that location, and he was right there. Well, there's great location.
Yes, it is. No balls, 2 strikes. The Astros will be looking at some different starting pitchers in the upcoming games. Dallas Keuchel will get a start tomorrow. Little chopper goes to third. Wallace cuts across and takes care of it. 2 outs. So that'll be Dallas's start tomorrow against the Atlanta Braves and Chris Medlin. Sunday, John Eli gets the call against Pittsburgh and Kyle McPherson. And Monday, Jared Cosart will be the starter against Detroit and Rick Porcello. And in that game Monday, Cosart starting, and Alex White, who started against the Toronto Blue Jays, will pitch in relief that day. And that's what's going to be happening with Bo Porter's club. Upon occasion, somebody might start one time through the rotation and back up a different starter the next time through.
You know, you get to watching certain plays, maybe routine plays in the course of a spring training game. It may not be something you would take note of during the regular season, but watching Brett Wallace play at third base and Chris Carter in left field, I think you have to watch every play, and here's one for you to watch.
Tavares out to Carter. Carter handles that one with no problem. It's a quick third inning for Bud Norris, and the Cardinals lead it 2-0 after 2.5.
Well, that was smooth.
Two 2-0 the Cardinals. They got a 2-run single from Daniel Descalzo in the second inning, scoring Matt Adams and Shane Robinson. And now as you see Lucas Harrell there closest to you, and Bud Norris just coming out of this game. They are back-to-back in this rotation. Carlos Corporon talks it over with his battery mate Doug Brocale, and Bob, we'll be hearing from Broke later on. So a good day to talk pitching. While the Redbirds are making a change, they're going with a left-hander, John Gast. So they get two out of their starter, Joe Kelly, making his first appearance of the season. He gives up no hits, no runs. He has 2 walks with no strikeouts. And the lefty Gast moves in to oppose Brandon Barnes, who leads off the bottom of the third. Barnes, with 4 hits and 10 at-bats, has a homer and a double. This one is hanging up in right center for John Jay. Wynn taking it further, and Brandon Barnes unloads one to right center field for a home run, his second of the spring. Astros get a run back quickly and trail 2-1. Got that one up into the breeze.
And again, that breeze blowing generally toward the right field corner. So there was some pretty good muscle thump involved in this one. A guy that's known for his defensive skills. See how much he juices that. Yeah, he got the barrel to it very nicely.
He did. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes we can overstate the effect of the wind. And Tyler Green looks at ball 1.
One thing's for sure so far in the games here in Kissimmee, hitting the ball toward right center and right field has been probably the most productive way to go about your business.
Yeah. Tyler Green looks at that one for ball 2. And so John Gast, who came in with an 0-1 record and an ERA of 9 for 2 innings, greeted rudely by Barnes. That's ball 3, and it's 3 balls, no strikes. Cardinals have won 4 in a row. That's in for a strike, make it 3-1. Mark Zepchinski is supposed to follow Gast to the mound. They'll look at Fernando Salas and Eduardo Sanchez if Cardinal pitching plans hold up. And Shelby Miller is available to pitch out of the pen today. He has not made an appearance yet this spring. He could be a big arm for them this year. Green takes the leadoff walk. That's walk number 3 for Redbird pitching. Jose Altuve will follow. Altuve worked the count full before popping to short in the first inning. The new hitting coach, John Maley, has been working very closely with these hitters ever since he got the job over the winter. He spent a lot of time on the phone. He's broken down videotape. He's had sessions with them before spring training started. And the plan for Jose Altuve is to continue to try to build on what he did last year. And that is not to take away his aggressiveness, which you can see and you have been able to see, but to make him selectively aggressive, as John Maley says. And in other words, they don't necessarily want to send Jose Altuve up there to draw a walk, but if the pitch is in the area where he can hit it and hit it hard, no matter what the count, the Astros would love to see him offer at that pitch. If it's not in that area, then that's another consideration.
Well, I think it's agreed that the only area of the game offensively where Jose Altuve can drastically improve his game, it would be on the walk side. Can he bump that number up? And if he does, he becomes a very elite player at that position.
True. And with what he did last year, he had a 340 on base average. And he hit 290, scored 80 runs, leading off last season. He was the club MVP.
Yeah, it's hard to complain about anything there. But as good as he is, if you're saying there's one workable area where you could get better, it would probably be the walks.
Right. It's very difficult to work with a player who has not had that history of walking in the minor leagues and turn him into a different type player. Deep drive, John Jay going back in center field, and he turns for the catch. Fires it back in. It's a long out, number one. Jay all the way back to the warning track to catch that deep Altuve drive.
Just cruised with this ball. You see a major league outfielder going at it there. He knew he had it all the way, set himself up so that with that quick spin he could fire back to the infield.
Carlos Pena drew a walk in the first inning, one of 3 walks Astros hitters have drawn. They have hit .316 for a team batting average in the first 7 games. They've scored 45 runs. That's a nice average of runs per game. Pena takes a look at it, and it's ball 1. They've come from behind in 3 of their 4 wins, so they've had a lot of good things going offensively. Chris Carter's on deck. Last year, the Astros scored 583 runs and just really struggled to move men around. They didn't have a lot of power. They were outscored by their opponents by more than 200 runs last year.
211, I believe, was the total figure that was far and away worse than anybody else.
Broken bat, fly ball, and here is Shane Robinson with the catch on the run. And retreating to first base, Tyler Green. He got back in on the broken bat fly ball by Pena for out number 2. Good job by Green to get back.
It is good base running, and it's not as easy as it seems it should be. You see the right fielder charging as you go about halfway towards second base. You try to figure out, how do I make sure to get to second if this ball drops in front and not get doubled up at first if he makes the catch?
Sure. Chris Carter, who popped to first in the first inning, comes around again.
Ball 1.
He looks at ball 1. Nowhere close from John Gast.
I think all of us would like to see Chris Carter get somewhat hot with the bat, show that occasional pop, because that's an area the Astros direly need, that home run game maybe, to help them become a lot better offensively.
Foul ball for Freese over in the bullpen area. And now he gets out of the way, and Cosma comes over with a good catch. As they scatter in the Astros bullpen, it's 1 run, 1 hit, 1 left. Brandon Barnes goes deep after 3, 2-1 Redbirds. 2 Astros, 1 after 3. Top of the 4th inning. We're joined by Bud Norris, starter for the Astros today. 3 innings of work as he stretched it out. Bud, 2 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. You're not into pitching lines in spring training, are you?
No, not really. You're really out there getting your work in, working with Corporon a lot back there in Castro, and they've been great, all the other guys in camp, but now's your time to get your legs under you, get your 2-seamer going, get your changeup going, get those fundamentals first. The slider will come, so felt good.
Bud, you mentioned Carlos Corporon. Saw him chatting with you after you were done in the dugout after 3 innings. What did he have to say?
You know, obviously he's giving me good feedback. He's let me know what he saw and what things that he wants me to, obviously keep working on. A couple of those fastballs that I pulled off on, obviously they weren't getting through the target. He's saying, jump at me, get all the way through me. So had some great feedback for me, and obviously things to keep working on.
You had a number of pitches that were called balls that you probably felt that you executed pretty well, would you say, today?
Yeah, there's always a couple. You always want a bigger zone and higher, lower, inside out, a little bit more. But, he was pretty sharp back there. Obviously, you're trying to locate on the corners. I was pretty darn close.
But, after a few spring trainings now with the Astros and a few seasons with the Astros, you mentioned the slider. You have time to make that come around. Isn't it a different feel for you now that you do have this time, you do have a spot in the rotation, and you don't have to go out there and really compete at the top level every single time out?
Absolutely. Your shoulder goes through a lot in the course of a season when you're trying to put up 200 innings year in and year out. Obviously 7 weeks down here in spring training. Obviously the World Baseball Classic is definitely give us an extra week, so you don't need to rush out there and start snapping off sliders. Your first game action out there. I didn't my first outing, but I threw a couple today, making some adjustments, and go from there.
Seems from start to start for most guys around the major leagues, spring training means today I'm going to work on this, and next time out it might be a little something different. What was it today for you?
Obviously Harold and myself been talking a bunch, and we're broke, and it's just staying back over the rubber. We're pretty aggressive pitchers, and we want to attack the hitter as fast as we can, but the faster we go, sometimes we don't make better pitches. So we really got to focus on staying back over the rubber, making sure we're using our legs, and getting the ball downhill.
Bud, thanks so much for joining us. It was fun to talk with you today.
Good talking to you guys.
Keep up the good work, Bud.
Thanks, Ash.
Bud Norris. This call to the bullpen is presented by Gulfgate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Jose Veras. David Freese didn't like this call, and he did freeze on this one.
Yeah, he might have had a right to that hanging curveball. Occasionally you get a call, but generally speaking, the hitters are going to see that one go their way.
Veras in for his 3rd appearance of the spring. Matt Adams with a bad-looking swing with strike 1.
That changeup can induce that kind of swing.
It can. Though, with those career numbers, he comes in now with 5 career saves, and it looks as if he will be the closer for the Astros after signing as a free agent. Foul back by Adams. No balls, 2 strikes. Veras is 32 years old. He began his career in the Tampa Bay organization. Then he was a Yankee, an Indian, a Marlin, a Pirate. Joined the Astros as a free agent in December. Last year, he pitched 72 times for Milwaukee. He was a Brewer as well.
Do his numbers say closer for you?
Well, let's see. 314 innings, 328 strikeouts. That sounds good.
Yeah, you like that power guy, the guy that can induce the strikeouts.
He's been a setup man more often than closer. 74 holds, 5 saves. Not to say he can't do it. Fly ball to right field. Ankiel takes care of it, 2 outs. And that's the thing that he's getting, is the opportunity to close for the Astros. Very important role for a young club. This team is growing, developing, and closing is such an important thing when a young club has a lead against a team, we'll say, like the Angels, maybe, the A's, the Rangers, to be able to close out that deal and make the team feel good about its effort.
Until a guy gets a chance to be a closer and he either succeeds or doesn't, you don't know whether he can be a successful closer. And you mentioned the 5 saves over the career that began in the major leagues in 2006 for Veras, but you just can't look at it and say, well, look, he hasn't been good as a closer. He just hasn't had many chances.
Right. Shane Robinson takes a look at that one for strike 2.
Certainly has hitters flinching on the breaking pitches this inning.
He does. It looks as if he can start that ball at a right-handed batter and get him to bail out some of the time.
an area that I really like in the inning ends, but far less hits allowed over his career than innings pitched.
Game moving swiftly, 2-1 St. Louis, fourth inning. It's 2-1 St. Louis. Come out to Minute Maid Park today through Sunday, March 3rd for the Astros Foundation College Classic. The tournament features ranked teams including North Carolina, Rice University, and Texas A&M. Get your tickets now by calling 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com. And we are joined by Sarah Eggers. Sarah?
Well, hello there. Well, today I participated in the Family Feud tournament that Bo Porter has going on. It's a double elimination tournament, 6 teams, and I was on a 5-member media team going against 5 pitchers. And it was very intimidating when we walked in the clubhouse because they had 2 tables lined up. The clubhouse was full of all the coaches, all the players, all the staff, and of course they were heckling us as soon as we walked in. There were 2 categories, 2 questions, and the media team stole both of those. And I have to say, I was the one that came up with the winning answer for both of those steals. But it was such a good time. The players are really getting into it. Bo Porter had this bullhorn. Whenever someone, instead of the X during Family Feud, the buzzer, he would blow the bullhorn really loud right in our ear. And the players just had a good time with it. Bud Norris was trying to call Gene Diaz out, who is the PR person for the Astros, for cheating. So in the end, they walked out very deflated. Bo Porter said we just made his job harder today because we defeated the pitchers. But anyway, a good time. And Bo did say at the end also that, because I'm leaving, I'm not going to be here for the second round that the media is going to play in. And Bo Porter did say that, tell the media this morning that they're losing their 3-hole hitter. So I might have to come back, fly over for the next round, or just do it via Skype. Back to you guys.
Yeah. Brett Wallace with a double. Well, we have to find out who your teammates were. You mentioned Gene Diaz.
And Steve Sparks, obviously, actually with TV, with the radio side for the Astros. And then Brian McTaggart, who is the writer for MLB.com for the Astros. And then Brian Smith with the Houston Chronicle.
Oh, that's a formidable team.
But I was the ringer.
It is a strong-sounding team, but yet with you leaving town with that information, I think the odds of them winning have gone severely downhill.
That's what Bo said. They're going to be severely missed. It's nice to be missed.
Thanks, Sarah. We'll hear from you later on, too. And, you know, she is a hard worker. You go on the website, csnhouston.com, and you can see several interviews that she has posted. And also the fact that she writes articles, so she's right on top of it. She spent a lot of long hours here this spring.
It's cold out here this morning. She came out as a gamer with no jacket. I had to get back in the clubhouse with Enos Cabell and gather a jacket in for her.
Oh. Fernando Martinez, the batter. He bounced into a forced play in the second inning. Wallace with a well-hit double at second base now. And again, you know, Brett hitting the ball hard to the right of second base. That continues to be a much improved aspect of Brett Wallace's hitting this year.
I think one of the things you ask about left-hand hitters, along with the obvious, does he have pop? Can he get on base? How does he handle left-handers? And that was done very well with the double against the lefty.
That's a good point. Adams with that play for out number 2, and that one gets Wallace over to third base. Carlos Corporon next. Carlos hit a fly ball to center his first time up. Well, it's part of the esprit de corps the Astros have been building in that clubhouse with the Family Feud games and things of that nature. Players have had a good time. Our lot of new players on this team. It figures that of the 40-man roster, which ended the season last year, there would be 20 new players for opening day in 2013. That's a big turnover. Strike to Corcoran.
So you try to get your team together in spring training and gather yourselves as a family, and then immediately you start a family feud. I don't know if that's a good idea.
I think maybe you should take her place next round.
I don't know about that, Brownie. I'm going to defer to you. I want to keep that team strong.
No balls and 2 strikes. Well, Steve Sparks is one of those guys who should do very well.
It is a formidable lineup that they present the media bunch, but I don't know, with Sarah gone, it could be a real struggle.
Do you think we should play What's in Sparky's Pocket this year?
Yeah, I'm calling for it right away.
Well, the feature from years gone by, What's in Ash's Pocket now, a lot of people are asking that be brought back.
Well, I'll tell you what, my favorite was, and it took me, oh, good. It took me 3 or 4 innings to get the guitar stuffed in my pocket, but I got it in there.
Diving play, but off the glove of Freeze, and that'll get the tying run home as Wallace scores on a hot shot by Corcoran. Carlos winding up with the RBI single to tie this game at 2. Good effort by Freeze, but the ball went off his glove into foul territory.
I've been impressed with Carlos Corcoran today, and he slams one on the ground and picks up that key 2-out RBI hit. But I've liked what I've seen behind the plate from Corcoran and his desire to engage with his pitcher Bud Norris and have some parting comments about what he saw on the day and try to help his right-hander.
Corcoran picks up RBI number 3 of the spring. He has 5 hits in 8 at-bats. Brandon Barnes takes a look over. He homered in the 3rd inning for the first Astro run. They trailed 2-0, and now they've tied it. And Barnes, as we await a pinch runner at first, is going to get back in that box very soon. Jimmy Paredes is coming out to pinch run for Corcoran.
May I just say, Brownie, that the catchers have been rather involved in the offense. You mentioned the numbers and nice ones for Carlos Corcoran, but Jason Castro is the guy that's just tearing it up. He's got an OPS of almost 2,500. It's going to be a tough one to keep up, but a nice start on the year. That was closer than it needed to be.
Yeah. Paredes was getting his belt fixed as he ran over to first base to pinch run. So here in the 4th inning, rushed into action apparently, and then he almost got picked off.
Yeah, in order of need, probably the fixing of the belt goes down the list for me a bit.
That's true. Meanwhile, the home run swing in the 3rd inning.
That's a pretty good pop for a guy that's expected to play solid defense for you.
Brandon takes that one, and it's a strike. And he came to the Astros last season, made his big league debut, and he really had a good time of it in his 98 at-bats. More of a defensive impact than with the bat last year. So if he can play as he's done here in the early days of spring training, that will really further his chances to make the opening day roster. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah, with a new manager in town, so to speak, last year's numbers don't really rate very high on the list. 2 balls and a strike.
Yeah, I'm very anxious to see how it plays out over the course of the spring, heading toward opening day with Chris Carter, who's getting that time in left field, and how it works out in terms of Carlos Pena and Brett Wallace. Fryman, the big first baseman. Boy, Nate Fryman could be a guy that projectably toward the future could be a big home run hitter for this club.
Well, it's going to be an intriguing decision come the last day of spring training regarding the Astros' 2 Rule 5 draft choices. Fryman is one of those 2. Josh Fields is the other one, a relief pitcher who has very good stuff. And I think both are going to be very strongly considered to be on the opening day Astros club. And they had 2 Rule 5 picks last year as well, the reliever Reiner Cruz and the infielder Marwin Gonzalez. So that would be rare for a team to have 4 Rule 5 picks make the big league club and stay up for 2 years in a row.
Here's how I see it. This is a rebuilding organization. There's no question about it. And you're constantly trading players to add talent with minor league players. So when you pick up a Rule 5, one of those players comes over, basically a freebie. You pay a little bit of money for it. But you're adding a player. And you'd like to keep that player.
Exactly. Yep. Jeff Luhnow has traded for something like 21 players in his deals since he took over as the GM. And most of them in the minor leagues when he traded for them.
So you want to keep those guys.
Right. So he has really worked to restock the organization. That's a good play by Gast. He cuts it off and throws him out. But the Astros tied with a run on 2 hits and leave a man. And after 4, it's a 2-2 game.
It's a 2-2 tie as we go to the 5th inning. Astros hosting the St. Louis Cardinals. And a little news for you. 7 and 14 game mini plans are now available for the 2013 season. Enjoy some of the best seats at Minute Maid Park and receive great benefits throughout the season. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com to purchase your mini plan. Do it today.
We have a new battery in the game for the Astros. They've tied the game with the Redbirds 2-2. Xavier Cedeno, the lefty, is warming up. And Carlos Corporan left for the pinch runner. Looks like Rene Garcia in the game to do the catching. It is Rene Garcia. And with Cedeno at age 26, coming back after 44 appearances with the Astros last year and a 3.77 ERA, he would figure to be in a pretty good position to have a spot on that opening day roster. He was a 31st round pick of the Rockies in 04. The Astros signed him as a free agent after 2010, and he pitched only 3 times for Houston in 2011, and those are his career numbers. Jose Veras had a 1-2-3 4th inning with 2 called third strikes on Freese and Robinson. It's Descalzo against Cedeno. Sergio Escalona, another lefty reliever, closed out the game yesterday, the win against the Yankees. And Bo Porter had a right-hander ready to go in his bullpen, but he stayed with Escalona, who missed all of last year after surgery. Well, that was a nice outing for Sergio. 2 balls, no strikes. So the Astros do have some left-handed options. It would appear at this early stage of spring training. Cedeno has an ERA of 0 for his first 2 appearances. With 1 win and no losses. He's worked 2 innings and given up 1 hit. That's wide to Descalzo, and that makes it a 3-ball, no strike count to Daniel.
Cardinals come in as a left-hander, get a left-handed hitter at the plate, and fall behind and eventually walk him. So good time to come back and create an out.
Now he throws a strike. Doug Brocale, the pitching coach, will join us next inning. Descalzo went to UC Davis. Now Cedeno comes back, and it's a full count to Daniel. Cardinals have had scrappy second baseman in recent years. Skip Schumacher played there. And a walk. Descalzo leads it off with the second walk by Astros pitchers today.
As often happens, that first one, that was the leadoff man in the second inning, issued by Bud Norris, but it came around to score.
Descalzo's on. Johnson's the batter. He bounced into a 6-4-3 double play earlier. We were talking about various teams around the majors yesterday, Ash. We talked briefly about the Dodgers. There was a big article on them in USA Today, Sports Today, and about their $230 million payroll. And that is the highest in the majors.
Gone right on by the Yankees.
Yes, they have.
Who are talking about paring down toward next year.
Good play by Wallace. He gets a high throw on, though, and it's safe at second. He really didn't seem to have his legs underneath him as he tried to get that throw away quickly, and he did, but it wasn't accurate. So it's first and second, nobody out.
That's not your basic routine play. That's a wide ranging to his left, and sometimes you might find on that play that just continuing the movement and an underhand toss might work best.
Good point. Yeah, not an easy play. Now they confer at the mound in a double play situation. Adron Chambers coming up next.
They're apparently conferring in the booth as to whether that's a hit or I don't know what else you would call it.
Well, it'd be tough to give it an error, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well,
as far as he had to go to get to that ball.
Potentially a fielder's choice. Is that easier making that play onto first base?
That's a consideration for the official score. It's not that it's that big a deal in spring training whether something is a hit or an error.
Talk to Rob Johnson and see if it's a big deal.
True, for guys who are trying to make a big league club,
yeah.
And he's 0 for 8 coming into that at bat. It might be a big deal to him.
Come charging the press box.
In a bunt situation, Chambers squares, but the pitch is in the dirt for ball 1. Number 9 hitter Pete Kozma, the shortstop, is on deck. Yeah, the Dodgers with that huge payroll really have attracted so much attention over the winter. Made that very big trade with the Boston Red Sox. Now how's it going to play for them? How's Adrian Gonzalez going to do for them? And Josh Beckett.
I've watched Adrian Gonzalez, and when he is on with the bat, he is as fierce a first baseman offensively as you'll find, and he can play defensively.
That's a foul ball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, that was intriguing watching Corcoran. He backed off as if he wanted that to be a foul ball.
Right, Garcia. Yeah, he let it bounce instead of going right after it.
Now keep in mind, it doesn't matter where the body of the defensive player is. It's where the ball is. And you see him back off, and clearly the ball is in foul territory. But many a catcher would come at that and try to make it appear that the ball was fair. Want to be very clear to the fans that aren't certain about it. It doesn't matter the body of the defensive player.
Well, he would have had a hard time getting an out with that ball bouncing so high.
Yeah, he may have thought that.
Might have. Now Cedeno with the play to first to Altuve, gets the out on the sacrifice by Chambers, and he had to make a good throw. No availability at third base for an out with Wallace coming after the ball. Here it is.
Yeah, the third baseman actually needs to communicate immediately. First right away, because there's no play at third, and you could see Cedeno kind of glance toward third. Sometimes that can cost you the play.
Now in this 2-2 game, first base open, and Pete Kozma, the batter. He struck out in the 3rd inning. And the Astros play the infield back. Here's ball 1. Well, Jeff Blum will be making his arrival next week in Astros camp. Our next telecast with you and Jeff working at Ash will be March 7th.
He still looks good enough to play. I don't know if they'll invite him to come in and take some batting practice and maybe distract him as a broadcaster.
Carter back in left field on the run. It's over his head, and one hopping the fence. That'll drive in 2 and give the Cardinals a 4-2 lead. 2-run double by Kozma.
We've seen Chris Carter in left field make one very routine-looking play on a semi-line drive toward the line. This ball gets over him, and it's a tough read as to whether it was playable for the very best of left fielders. But as he goes back, you could see that immediately he had sized it up as having no play. I don't know. You'd have to have a heck of a jump to make a play on that ball.
Right. Descalzo walk, comes home, and Johnson behind him to make it 4-2 Redbirds. John Jay the batter now. Jay 0 for 2.
So I guess bottom line, I don't know that you can make any determination on that particular play as to whether Carter can play in left field.
True. Breaking pitch, ball 1. You know, come think of it, Jeff Blum maybe should be involved in that Family Feud game.
Well, maybe so. Maybe so. As big as he is, he might kick some guys around if they disagree with him. Chris Carter could do that.
Carter's not played a lot of left field in the major leagues. And I think the Astros would be possibly more likely to play him in left field for home games than on the road. At home, the left field is so much less area to cover. Only about 315 feet down the line. Kozma started dancing off second base.
I think based on the Red Sox having Manny Ramirez a few years back as their left fielder, you could certainly put Chris Carter in left field in the shallowed up left field ballparks.
Well, especially if he's hitting well, driving in runs. That's a very strong consideration for a manager.
Yeah. Manny Ramirez was Manny being Manny in left field for a period of time for the Red Sox. He would literally play 40, 50 feet behind the shortstop. So any routine fly ball to left field anywhere near the wall would just simply drop. And it appeared that nobody wanted to tell Manny to do otherwise.
Looping line drive hit to right field. Here's the throw to the plate, and the runner will hold at third base. So a single by Jay keeps the rally going for the Redbirds here with 1 out, and runners at first and third. Jimmy Paredes got the throw back in low.
He's got a big, long approach, and yet he has been successful. They talk about guys trying to shorten up to be quick to the ball, and you see some guys that can just get it done regardless.
Jay's 1 for 3 today. Oscar Taveras will follow. Taveras 0 for 2 so far. Taveras had a big day yesterday for the Cardinals. He hit a grand slam. And Taveras figures to get a long look in Redbirds camp this year for several reasons. Number one, he's won batting titles the last 2 seasons in the minors. Number two, Carlos Beltran, who left the game yesterday when he was hit on the right pinky toe by a pitch. Beltran is supposed to be leaving soon for the WBC, so that'll open up some time in right field. And why not look at an Oscar Taveras with the glittering credentials he brings into Cardinals camp in 2013.
Yeah, that's a tough outfield to break into, at least that starting bunch.
Yeah, with Holiday in left. Altuve goes to second. Here's Tyler Green's throw to first, not in time as the run scores, and it's 5-2. Tavares picking up RBI number 6 of the spring.
Runs well. You can see some of the qualities for Tavares that could lead to batting titles.
Yeah.
Not a bad play by Altuve. Provides any opportunity on a lot of guys going down the line.
Yep.
And Green got kind of pinched at the bag. He had to back off rather than come through.
That'll be it for Cedeno with a score 5-2 St. Louis. Back in a moment. Five to 2. You see the crowd here watching St. Louis and Houston play at Osceola County Stadium in Kissimmee. Cardinals led 2-0. The Astros tied it. Now St. Louis has broken the tie with 3 so far here in the 5th inning. And the Astros go to their bullpen with right-hander Paul Clemens, who came from the Atlanta Braves in the Michael Bourne trade. 6'4", 197, 25 years old, from Columbia, South Carolina. Clemens was involved in that Family Feud game won by Sarah Eckert's team. Clemens has been in 1 game. He gave up 1 run in 2 innings of work on 2 hits, allowed a homer. David Freese is the first man to face him. He is 0 for 2. Clemens throws over to first. Paul's 25 years old. He has met Roger Clemens this spring. Paul at Oklahoma City last year was 8-8 with a 6.73 ERA after going 3-2 at Corpus Christi with a 3.46. That's a strike to Freese. In game 1 of the Astros Foundation College Classic, the Battle of the Bears, with Baylor meeting Cal. Finds Baylor leading 2-0 in the bottom of the 4th. Game 2 start time scheduled for 3:30. North Carolina takes on Rice. In the nightcap tonight, Houston plays Texas A&M. Thanks to Steve Grand for getting us that information from Minute Maid Park. Wallace was charged with an error on that play earlier in the inning involving Rob Johnson reaching first and Descalzo making it to second on the high throw from Wallace.
Yeah, I think ultimately that's the right call.
Strike there to Freese, makes it a 1-ball 2-strike count. Clemens was a 7th round pick by the Atlanta Braves in 08. It was Michael Bourne, traded in July of 2011 to the Braves for Brett Oberholzer, a lefty who pitched yesterday, Jordan Schaefer, and Abreu, another right-handed pitcher. There's a fly ball to right center. Barnes over for this one. And in the 5th inning, the Cardinals score 3 times. With the help of an error, they bang out a couple of hits. They lead it 5-2. Cardinals lead at 5-2. We're going to the bottom of the 5th inning. Pleased to be joined by Astros pitching coach Doug Brocail. He is all over the place, of course, in spring training. He has a lot of arms to keep track of. How do you do it, Bro?
You know, it's nice because I have, when we started this, we had the 3 minor league coaches. We had the two guys that are going to be traveling, watching everybody, and Steve Weber, who's the AAA pitching coach, myself, and Dennis. And it you know, throughout the day, it gets kind of hard because you don't get to see everybody on their lives and their sides. But, you know, we've been keeping good notes and communicating very well, and it's putting us in a position where we can sit back, and at the end of the day, we can figure out what's going on and who did what and how well they looked and how well they, how well they pitched on the day. But, you know, the games are good because I get to sit down here and I get to see it up close, and I think the only thing I don't get to see is the guys warming up in the pen.
Doug, you had a few years as a major league pitcher, and I would assume that during those years you had a few pitching coaches to work with on this shot.
Tyler Green's got a fair ball, and it looks like a double. And Doug will like that, as the Astros have done some hitting for his pitching staff so far this spring. Overall, Doug, how does this club look compared to a year ago?
Well, we're younger, you know, and that being said, you know, we have a lot of arms to look at. I told the guys the first day, I thought we were going with 13 guys. I think we're going to start with 7 in the pen and 5 in the rotation. There's jobs open, and you know, it's up to the kids to open our eyes. And I told them, you know, early in spring, the first 2 days, one of the kids asked me, he says, well, how are you going to remember all of our names? I said, you'll either make me remember it, and I said, if you don't make me know your name by the end of spring training, you obviously haven't done that much. So, you know, it's one of those things. I didn't say it to being, you know, a bad guy. I said it because I want these kids to realize the opportunity that's in front of them. There's not another team or year that you're going to have this big of a chance to win a big league job. We've got a lot of spots open and a lot of new faces, and hopefully we can fill all those with good major league arms.
Lucas Harrell looked sharp in our televised game yesterday. What do you think of Lucas so far?
Well, Lucas's first outing, his timing was a little off. Couldn't get into a tempo. And yesterday I just told him, I said, listen, get out there, speed some things up. It'll get you moving down the mound. And as he did, I think he was throwing a pitch every 8 or 10 seconds. It was kind of nice to see because it lets the guys stay on their toes, not back on their heels, and you know, he wasn't out there very long.
Doug, I had my question interrupted by a loud double by Tyler Green. We'll have to chat with him about that. But I was talking about all the pitching coaches you've had. What'd you learn from different pitching coaches that you've tried to take into your career now as a pitching coach? Pretty much everything that I talk, I've learned from the pitching coaches. A little bit from hitters. You know, guys like Tony Gwynn. I had, as far as hitters go, I had a lot of early years in San Diego where I got to listen to Tony Gwynn talk about setting up pitchers and how stupid pitchers were, and I couldn't believe that I had some hitter. You know, I've always preached that hitters are dumb. They get themselves out usually 8 out of 10 times. So, you know, but the thing about it is you know, I've had some good ones. Starting off in the minor leagues, I had Sonny Siebert, who really taught us how to go at it and be aggressive. I had some guys that I wasn't too sure which way I was going with the breaking ball, and you find that guy that taught the knuckle curve. I threw the knuckle curve, so it was nice to run into a guy like Rick Adair. Balsley was phenomenal in San Diego. Bert Hooton was one of my favorites. You know, Bert was one of those guys that tested you every day, and I can remember times when I'd throw a little bit in the bullpen and say, okay, you done? Yes. No, you're not. Now let's work. And what it did is it gives you the option to listen and take a little bit from each guy. And there's little bits and pieces from the game that I've stowed away in my memory, and I preach those. You know, I'm a guy that believes the classic mechanic where once we start our motion, we're taking it home. And
it'll speed things up, and it'll get your arm in the proper position and allow you to throw downhill with tilt. That way your breaking ball can have depth, and you know, we know when we throw on angles, things get a lot better. We're not throwing flat, the elbow's not down. It's not easier for the hitter to see, and that's where we're going with this. We're trying to get the kids to realize that it's a long process, but we're going to keep preaching it and teaching it in this organization from top to bottom, and hopefully once these young kids that we've drafted are ready, they're going to make a difference up here.
Chris Carter was strike one. Jason Mott in the game in this inning for the Redbirds. Broke, is there a bit of a culture change underway? To hear Bo Porter this winter, he wants starters to go deeper into games. Is that a change?
It is a change, you know, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to take these little ponies that we have and make Clydesdales out of it. You know, my goal when you talk starting pitching is 200 plus innings. You know, it's how you get there, and if we can get these guys through that third time in the lineup to where, you know, we're getting out instead of giving up so many hits and getting tired and walking guys, it'll really help out. It'll help out with the numbers. It'll help out with the guys upstairs that are giving all of our stats and stuff to realize that, hey, we're getting things accomplished, and we're doing it with one guy versus 4 guys. I know last year, I know for you, Bill, that you probably got tired of seeing guys come in and pitch one inning, guys come in and pitch one inning, and that's, you know, we're going to have some long guys. We're going to have some roles in this bullpen that are going to allow us to get deeper into games.
Do you think the bullpen got burned out last year?
I don't know if it got burned out, but they got tired. You know, our numbers were fairly well going into April, May, and early June, and we kind of hit a wall. You know, I was trying to make sure everybody stayed healthy. In the meantime, I wasn't trying to abuse guys, but there's days that we go with 4 and 5 and 6 guys to finish a game, and we did that sometimes 3 days in a row, and it doesn't work for a team.
Doug, do you have a view as to how many left-handers you'd like to have in the pen?
I would definitely like to have 2. One guy that could go a little bit longer. You're going to know by what they do this spring who has better stuff to face the righties. Now, obviously, if it goes lefty, righty, lefty, they're both going to face the righty. But, you know, they're capable. Daniel has good stuff. Chapman has good stuff. Wesley really did a fine job for us last year. Proved that he's a mainstay in this bullpen. Oberholzer has good stuff. You know, guys look at spring training, and I have guys that have had 3 outings now, and I've had guys that had 1 outing. I really don't look at the first 2-3 outings. Let them get their feet wet. A lot of these guys, it's their first spring. I'm not big on panic. There's a lot to be learned by Bulls crushing.
Oh, look at this shot from Carter. Well, there it is on display. We've talked about it, Broke. You've got to like what you saw in that swing.
I do. You know, it's not as far as the one that I gave up years ago to Willie Mopena, if you remember that, Bill. I think it went over that light standard and damn near hit the guys on field 1 at second base, but I'll take it.
There is quality and length, you're saying, in terms of home runs.
There is. You know, it's funny. You sit down and you think about the home runs you've given up, and I didn't give very many squeakers up.
If you're going to give them up, let them be impressive.
Let them, you know. There's times that I turned around and said, man, do I look at it? And then
sure you do.
Look at it. It's about the 550 mark, and you go, jeez.
Yeah, Carter is a guy that could mean so much to this club if you get him out there for 500 plus at bats, and he gets his feet on the ground.
He does. You know, the thing about it is we've got some big boys here that know how to swing this lumber. Johnny and Rads have done an incredible job. You see how we're taking swings. You know, we're not sitting back waiting for things to happen. We're going out and we're being aggressive. One thing that I noticed the other day when we won 10-1 in Clearwater was how they're talking to the hitters. And, you know, when you hear a guy say, hey, Tech was getting him over, drive him in, that's aggressive baseball, and that's where the Houston Astros need to be.
Well, we were having this quiet conversation, and then that home run.
Yeah, this offense just ruins a good conversation every time.
Hey, I hope we keep getting interrupted.
I'll tell you what, bro, I think Mott looks like he's throwing pretty hard today, too.
He does, but you know what? These kids, when they come in to swing this bat, Fryman, CC, Wally, you know, we got guys who can catch up to any fastball. Heck, Springer the other day in Clearwater, he hit 2 out that were monster shots.
Yes, he did.
That boy, Wally.
Doug, if you had one realistic wish for this pitching staff over the course of the year, what might it be?
Well, one, you know, my concern is for the arms. We stay healthy. If we stay healthy, we can get things accomplished. It's when you have to keep calling guys up. You know, and we've seen that the last 3 or 4 years. We've gone through, I don't know how many pitchers we went through. I think we had 26 pitchers last year coming to the big leagues, and that's not a winning combination.
Yep.
You know, when we sit down and we think, okay, what's ideal? Ideal is that we have 5 guys, and those 5 guys stay healthy. They pitch every 5th day. Bullpen that we can go and get guys in roles. You know, the 2 lefties are lefties. Put guys in roles, let them stay in those roles. You know, I personally would like to have 2 long men, only because it's the AL. We've got a young team, and nobody knows what's going to happen. Boy.
Even with trying to get the starters to go deeper, you still realize that need at times for guys that have to eat up innings.
Well, and that's the thing is last year, as everybody knows, we had a lot of 1-inning guys, and it hurt us. You know, and we were in a position in the NL where it's a little different. Now in the AL, you know, does it stink that your pitching coach has to come out and leave you in a game that's, you know, you get crushed? Yes. But those guys have to realize how important that long roll is, because that long roll can save arms for the next 2 or 3 days versus having to go, you know, a starter gets through 3, say he gets bumped, 4, 5, and then we're 3rd man into the pen, 6th, 7th, and 2 more arms. That can absolutely ruin a pen.
Broke, thanks for joining us. We'll be right back.
Absolutely.
"5-4, Cardinals lead it. 2013 is a whole new ball game for the Houston Astros. Season tickets are available now. To learn about all the exclusive benefits and pricing, or to get your season tickets today, call 1-800-ASTROS-2 or visit Astros.com. We have wholesale changes now for Bo Porter, with the Astros trailing 5-4 after that long 2-run homer by Chris Carter, his first of the spring. And then while we were talking with Doug Brocale, George Springer went in to pinch run for Brett Wallace and stole a base. Springer is staying in to play center field. Paul Clemens in his 2nd inning of work, throwing that pitch to Matt Adams. There's Springer in center. Still Paredes in right, but Brandon Barnes has moved over from center field to left. And Matt Adams bats. And Adams hits one foul and out of play. He is 0 for 1 with a walk. We have Brandon Laird at third base now. Jake Elmore is at shortstop. And looks like Nate Fryman at first. Jose Martinez at second. Now they shift around. 3 players between first and second base on the infield. And that's ball 2 to Adams. So that leaves Laird, is moving over now between second and third, about where the shortstop would normally play. This one up the chute. Laird's the only player on that left side of the infield, and he's over to make that catch. 1 out. It was interesting to hear from Doug Brocail about the thinking on the pitching staff this year, Ash.
Yeah, he's got a lot of strong thoughts. There's no question about it. And, you know, the notion that starting pitchers are hoped to go deeper into ball games, he clearly buys into it, at the same time realizing that it won't always work out that way, and he'd like to have a couple of guys on the long end of the bullpen. Like to have at least 2 left-handed arms out there.
Tough play there, and it gets by. Jake Elmore just came in at shortstop. Shane Robinson reaching. Elmore was trying to backhand that ball and do so in a hurry, and it skipped by him into left field. And that's an error.
Well, you get into a ball game, you get that chance with the big league ball club, and then the first opportunity you get defensively is this high chopper on tough, hard infields, and it just leaves you in between. If he makes that play, it probably looks routine to a lot of folks, but it's anything but.
Descalzo has a 2-run single and a walk. He has scored a run. 5-4 Redbirds now in the 6th. And it's a strike for Clemens. Rob Johnson's on deck. This is the second meeting of the spring between these two clubs. And they'll meet again March 22nd here in Kissimmee. No, for Paul Clemens, a game like this gives him that big opportunity to pitch in big league camp again and impress, not only for this spring, but if he does not make the opening day club, perhaps he's a call-up later on during the season. And the roster looks pretty strong on the pitching staff for AAA Oklahoma City as of right now anyway. Looks as if competition will be heated for those spots in that starting rotation. And the Astros are considering, as Jeff Luhnow told us yesterday on the air, stacking the starters so that maybe they share a game. So we'll say a Clemens might start today, and Oberholzer, just to throw out a name, might back him up, and then the next time through the rotation they may flip-flop, just to keep all those options available for later on for the big league club.
I think a lot of teams employ that strategy, and it also kind of adds a little bit of competition. You'd like to be among the starters on a given day, the guy that shines, that maybe leaves the best impression.
Yes. Well, of course, the Cincinnati Reds rank as a strong team again in the NL Central. The Cardinals finishing second last year. There's a bouncer through the right side. Robinson to second as Paredes comes up with it. So after the error, Descalzo follows with a single, and it's runners at first and second with 1 out for Rob Johnson.
Just your basic ground ball with eyes. Find that hole. Wound up pinching toward the bag at second base because of the error. Man at first base. You've got to pinch for that double play, and it leaves that larger hole on the right side.
Yeah, you saw it on that replay. Just the depth at which the second baseman has to play in that situation can lead to a hit like that. Johnson is 0 for 2. I think many people would pick the Reds again to win the NL Central. Aroldis Chapman coming out of the bullpen to join their rotation this year. That's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
I think hitters that don't have to face 102 in late innings probably will be a little bit glad about that. I'm sure that fastball will tune down a bit.
They have Jonathan Broxton to replace Chapman as the closer. Now the runners break on this pitch, and it's fouled.
I think they had that. I think that was a pretty good jump at second base.
Yes.
And I actually had considered asking Brocail how he feels about that. You've got a young pitching staff. You like to work on a bunch of things, and yeah, I believe they had the double steal wrapped up right there.
Looked like it.
But do you, while you're trying to train the mechanics of being a quality major league pitcher, incorporate trying to be quick and cut down the running game? Tough question. I think it's something if I were in Doug's shoes, would like to see being done on the minor league level, so pitchers are ready with it.
Springer in center field. Tracks this one behind second base for out number 2.
Springer's a big guy out there, and he's shown pop, but there's a lot of talk about his speed and whether he might be the fastest guy in the entire camp. Delino DeShields is the guy with the great base stealing abilities. Is he as fast as Springer? That's one of the questions.
Well, DeShields stole 101 bases last year. Springer came right off the bench in this game, pinch running, and stole second on the first pitch.
It looks like he can do it. I mean, he looks like one of these young guys that might step in and have all the tools.
You know, it's probably one of the real long shots for a lot of people, but this guy could be on the ball club opening day.
He's kind of pressing things in that direction.
He really is. It's been that impressive.
Makes it a bit tough on management, but it's the kind of tough you want to get more and more of from as many players as possible.
Yes.
Probably the guy whose name comes up first in terms of what he's shown so far in camp, George Springer.
Well, he had the 2 home run game in Dunedin against the Blue Jays, drove in 5. Very impressive day.
Think anybody's been as impressive as George Springer to this point?
I couldn't say that anyone has. Robinson started toward third again. Now he's forced to balk. And he really did. He attracted the attention of Clemens. Got him to flinch a little bit, and a balk was called by Ed Hickox.
Any pitcher, and I don't care if it's a youngster like Clemens, is going to need some help out there by a middle infielder to cut that lead down. The dancing act has to be taken away. And so I can't really blame Clemens. He was trying to do what he could. But in this case, with a left-hand hitter at the plate, likely that the shortstop Elmore has got to find a way to get back in behind the runner and shut that running game, that Dancing with the Stars act down.
Danced his way over to third base now on the balk. Runners at second and third, and 2 outs. And Bo Porter went out to talk with Clemens. 2 balls and a strike. Well, still could be a very harmless balk if he can just concentrate on the hitter and do this job for out number 3. Here's Laird coming over for this foul pop, and that one's back out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Laird's been an impressive young player in camp. Don't know if he gets that chance to break through that Springer might have pushed himself toward, but Laird has shown that he can swing the bat and kind of moves around a little bit defensively.
Next telecast coming up Thursday at noon, with Jeff Blum joining Alan Ashby for the Astros and Nationals.
Where will we find you at that time?
Ooh, I'll be finding you
right on the couch, right
on Comcast Sportsnet.
Big pizza in front of you.
You bet. You guys can keep us all entertained for about 4 hours that day.
Thanks for the invitation to a good time.
You know, you'll have some fun, though, with that national club being highly regarded.
Wow. Are they ever?
Maybe you get Strasburg. Who knows?
You know, still early in the spring, and a lot of teams don't travel with a lot of the big boys. I have a feeling since Strasburg couldn't pitch in September, he may not be able to pitch here.
All right. So with Strasburg being held to the innings limit last year, they say there are no restraints this year. So he would go from, what did he pitch, 160 innings, something like that last year, to you're going to let him go to 200? That's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, it is. I personally thought that last year was a bunch of nonsense what was done. If the Nationals felt that Steven Strasburg was going to pitch too many innings when it was all said and done, and their club was heading to postseason play for the first time in a long, long time, It was a season of excitement, not only for the fans, but for the players themselves. And I feel like if the Nationals really needed to curtail the innings, they should have done a lot of that earlier in the year and allowed that team a chance to be at their best late.
There's a deep drive to right field. Paredes back, and that one goes out. That's a 3-run homer. Adrian Chambers and the Cardinals go deep. That's number 1 of the season for Chambers to make it 8-4.
Chambers apparently had strong feelings about that Strasburg story as well. Not a big guy, but a big, quick swing right there. You can see how getting the bat through the zone very quickly can aid you in the long ball effort. Blake Mathis has found another baseball.
Yeah. Now the Cardinals going deep. They've hit well this spring. 307 team batting average coming into this one. They lead it now by 4. It's been an ugly inning for the Astros. Beautiful for the Redbirds with an error, a balk, now a 3-run homer thrown in.
Look what the errors have done again today. Yesterday it was a big factor in the opposition scoring, and today twice errors for the Astros, and in each case in those innings you wind up with 3-run innings.
Yeah. Of the 3-run 5th inning, only 1 of the runs was earned. Cedeno in 2/3 of an inning, charged with 2 hits and 3 runs, 1 earned, with 1 walk, no strikeouts. So Doug Brocail hoping that Clemens can finish off Cosma here and stop the bleeding at 3 runs here in the 6th. Consecutive 3-run frames. And that one gets through past a diving Laird into left field. A hit for Cosma, his 2nd in a row.
And if you wonder what are the Astros and Bo Porter doing to improve the defense, I watched again today, and it seems to be a daily ritual for the club before batting practice even starts. There is a dynamic infield drill, and the outfielders involved as well. Every day they work on every possibility that you would foresee, generally speaking, and yet the errors persist.
John Jay was strike 1. Jay is 1 for 3. Well, that's one of the objectives the Astros have for this season, to play better defensively. It can make such a difference behind a pitching staff. Not to have to get those 4th outs in the innings. Springer comes over in left center field to end it in the 6th inning, and the Redbirds come up with their 2nd straight 3-run frame. They put together 3 hits with an error, and they left a man to lead it 8-4.
We're back in Kissimmee. 8-4. The Cardinals now lead as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Say you can follow the Astros this spring and all season long with MLB.com. At Bat for your iPhone, iPad, iPod, Touch, and Android devices. At Bat delivers spring training wherever you are with scores, stats, searchable video, live audio, and more. Text At Bat to 31826. That's 31826, or visit Astros.com for your details.
Well, those 3 runs the Cardinals scored in the top of the 6th inning, all unearned. And now they have tacked on to their lead to make it an 8-4 game. They have 7 hits. The Astros have committed 2 costly errors, leading to a total of 5 unearned runs in this game. Now Mark Zepchinski, pitcher number 4, comes in with Orbit dancing on the dugout. The entertainment does not stop just because the visiting team put together a rally. And now the Astros will send up a pinch hitter here as Zepchinski gets underway. And this bouncer on through into center field.
Those catchers continue to come through with some offense.
Jason Jaramillo. Jaramillo picks on that offering and gets things started here with the Astros looking to come back again. That's what they did against the Yankees yesterday. Jimmy Paredes will be the batter. He came in to pinch run for Carlos Corporon in the 4th inning. Zepchinski came from the Toronto Blue Jays to the Cardinals, and he was a mainstay in their World Series season of 2011. Really helped them in a lot of important ways out of the bullpen that year. He was traded in that big deal involving Colby Rasmus. Many players in that trade. And you were with the Blue Jays in the radio booth that year and doing some TV as well, Ash. You guys had to shuffle the deck after that trade in July of 2011.
Well, I think it was viewed as a coup in Toronto picking up Colby Rasmus. He had a miserable following remainder part of the season, however, and I certainly had huge question marks. He came around last year and had some hot spells, but all in all, Colby Rasmus is pretty much an enigma in Toronto. I think probably in St. Louis as well. Great tools, but does it translate to being a major league player? It's still yet to be seen.
Zepchinski is a veteran, 27 years old, from Yorba Linda, California. Went to Cal Riverside. The Blue Jays drafted him in the 5th round in 07. He pitched 70 times for the Redbirds last year.
This guy's an effective left-hander. He's got that herky-jerky and kind of slinging delivery. Makes life awfully tough on the left-hand hitters. And on broadcasters at times.
You bet. Paredes takes that one, and it's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Jimmy came up in 2011 and looked pretty good for the Astros. Last year, not such a good season for him. And he's converted from infield to outfield. Very athletic player, formerly in the Yankees organization. His speed is a big asset for him. There's a shot, but it's foul. Matt Adams diving for it. Paredes just getting it outside the first base line.
Just trying to protect on that pitch on the outside edge.
Jimmy's still a young player. He's 24. He had 189 last year and 74 at bats for the Astros after a 318 season at Oklahoma City. You know, the year before in 2011 he played third base quite a bit. He started 44 games. He hit 286 and 168 at bats. He had been a second baseman earlier in his career. Fouls that one back, so it's a case of maybe finding the right position for him. He's a switch hitter. Good build for baseball, and at age 24, right on the cusp of doing something again in the major league season in 20 and 13, just looking for an opportunity. And the players who rank in front of him don't want to give him that. This one in the dirt, pops away. Here's a throw from Johnson on one bounce, not in time at second. Jaramillo moves up on the wild pitch.
Yeah, it's tough getting to the big leagues. It's even tougher, it seems, staying there. So once you get a chance to be there, you want to stay. You don't want to give those young kids a chance to show what they can do. That was not the best of efforts with that backhanded stab from behind the plate. You'd obviously like to see a catcher get down and be a little more committed.
You know, you were talking earlier, there's a walk to Paredes about the habits of Carlos Corporon in this game. That's something that we watched Mike Matheny do when he was the Cardinal catcher, and he caught for other teams as well.
Best I have ever seen in terms of the work ethic between innings.
Right.
Getting down and glove to the ground and blocking position every time.
Yeah, with nobody on base, he just would not abandon those habits, would he?
Look, I thought that Brad Ausmus was just a terrific catcher. Did so many things maybe better than most guys I ever watched. And he was good at blocking. He had an unorthodox style. But Mike Matheny was perfection all the time when he went down to block a pitch.
Line shot, knocked down. Zepchinski throwing, gets the out at second, but not at first. Well, he had the quick glove hand, unable to hold it for a line drive out, but he got the out at second on Paredes from 1-6. So it's first and third with one out for the Astros now.
That's a line shot that any hitter will tell you should wind up in center field. This ball has to get through, but on the glove hand side, Zepchinski able to just knock it down and at least get an out at second base.
That is tough luck for Brandon Barnes, the way he scorched that one. So he settles for an 0 for 1 on that and hopes that this guy can come through. Jake Elmore. Elmore up for the first time, formerly with the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Blues Brothers.
And the Blues Brothers.
Yeah. Ball one. You remember Jake Elmore with the Blues Brothers?
Is that what his name was?
Yeah.
You know, you are a very hip fella.
Well, that has not often been said, Ash.
Well, consider it said, Bronny.
All right. Jake Elmore is a versatile type player, plays the up the middle positions, as you saw. 3 for 10 this spring, joining the Astros organization this year. Takes a look at that one for a ball, and the count runs to 3-0 on Jake. Jake is 25 years old, from Dothan, Alabama, and an Arizona Stater. Like Brett Wallace, he had 68 at-bats for the D-backs last year, hitting 191. And this time it's a walk from Zepchinski. So Zepchinski has started allowing a single, a walk, and the only thing he's really done well in this inning is knock down that line drive and get an out on it.
Get a wicked line drive, you knock it down and create an out, and otherwise it's not so pretty.
No.
What do you say when you go out to the mound like this? I'd love to ask Doug Brocail that one. And we were talking with Doug yesterday about these conversations at the mound. Oftentimes they are not exactly what you might anticipate. Sometimes a little levity to try to loosen guys up. This one doesn't look like a levity moment.
No, it doesn't look like one of those comments like, hey, why don't you induce another line drive out here?
Yeah, seriously, consider the line shot. You get outs with those.
Jose Martinez, the batter. He's up for the first time in this game. He replaced Jose Altuve at second base. And we saw Martinez in yesterday's game as well.
Well, are the Astros going to find another way to battle back in a ball game and pick up a W?
Don't rule them out.
So far, you have to really look at the Chris Carter bomb, the home run that would be your special moment on the day. Brandon Barnes might argue that his long ball was the key.
Bouncer short, looks like a double play. And Cosma throws high, but Adams has the tag to complete. That's 6-3 double play. It's no runs a hit for the Astros, and after 6, the Redbirds lead at 8-4. Cardinals lead at 8-4, looking for the perfect way to combine business and baseball or a unique space to hold your next event. With state-of-the-art meeting spaces, Minute Maid Park can surpass all of your needs. Call 713-259-8800 for more information. Don't forget to ask about softball games and batting practice. Josh Zeid comes in, a right-hander wearing number 81 in Astros camp. He was warming up in yesterday's game when the Astros left Sergio Escalona out there to get the final outs and the save against the New York Yankees. This time he comes in the 7th inning. We look ahead at the Astros TV schedule and show you what's ahead in spring training on Comcast Sportsnet Houston. And it's March 7th against the Nationals. Next game at noon. Don't forget the pregame show at 11:30 with Allen and with Jeff Blum. March 8th against the Braves, the 10th against the Phillies, and the 15th. String of games coming up. Ash gets to take a few days off before hitting that string. Oscar Taveras is 0 for 3, and he has driven in a run in this game. That's ball 1 to Oscar.
Mind if I come join you at the pizza bar?
Not at all. 1 ball, 1 strike. You polished off a huge baked potato last night.
Well, I did.
That was impressive.
The waiter came and took the baked potato I was kind of working on in wicked fashion, and so I complained bitterly, and he brought me another one.
It was one that could have lasted through about 3 meals.
Probably could have.
But of course, you didn't want to leave that to chance. And
we didn't get shortchanged.
A very ambitious approach to a spring training meal, and it worked for you.
Always complain at the right moments.
That's poked and backhanded by Elmore. He snaps off a throw. There's the stretch in time. Big Nate Fryman at 6'8", going out to snatch that one and get the out.
Wow, that's a heck of a play. And I thought Oscar Taveras might have shown a little better wheels earlier in the day, but right here to get thrown out on this play, I guess you just simply have to hand it to the defense.
Helps to have a 6'8" first sacker, right?
Yeah, it kind of helps you get that nice long stretch. Look for that fella, Mr. Fryman, to hit some long balls over the course of his time.
Yeah. Ryan Jackson playing third now. And he takes strike 1 from Josh Zeid. Zeid's from New Haven, Connecticut. He came in the Phillies trade along with Jared Cosart, Jonathan Singleton, and Domingo Santana in the Hunter Pence deal in July of 2011. 272 for Ryan Jackson with Memphis with 10 home runs. Zeid pitched in Corpus Christi last season in 47 games. Elmore on over to Fryman, 2 outs. Oh, a good start to the inning with a couple of routine grounders. Well, the first one maybe not routine.
No.
And Tony Cruz is coming up next. One of the catchers in the Cardinal organization.
It's got the Derek Jeter hand in the air. Wait a second.
Pitcher's got to love that. You know what?
Yeah. Let's see if he features this on every pitch. Step out, fix the gloves a little bit, make sure there's no dirt in the cleat. There it is, Derek Jeter.
Okay. Does that do anything for an umpire as compared to saying something verbally to him?
It doesn't increase the happy meter, I wouldn't think.
No. Hunter Wendelstedt behind the dish. His father Harry was a longtime major league umpire who had an umpire's school in Daytona Beach. High chop up the middle. There's Martinez with a tough play and the throw to Fryman. He makes it very well for a 3 ground ball out 7th for Josh Zeid. In the middle of the 7th inning as the fans get ready for their stretch, it's the Cardinals 8, the Astros 4.
To the Astros half of the 7th inning. 8-4 Cardinals lead it. They've had a couple of 3-run frames aided by errors by the Astros today. Astros, Dynamos, Rockets, and more. We have all your sports news covered. Check out Sportsnet Central 7 days a week at 6, 10, and midnight on Comcast Sportsnet, your home of your home teams.
They do a nice job on those shows.
Yes, they do.
We'll have a post-game show coming up, of course, after this one today. Nesting.
How about the job our guys in the truck are doing on the first couple of casts?
Oh, they've been fun to work with. Good to have Kevin Cedergren down here to produce.
That's not Kevin there, right?
No, that's not Kevin. But he will be flying somewhere soon. We get a new pitcher, Jorge Rondon, coming in for the Cardinals. A new catcher as well, Audrey Perez. And Nate Fryman will lead it off for the Astros in the home 7th inning. They trail at 8-4.
How many major league catchers have had the first name of Audrey?
Can't think of any offhand. How about you?
Unless Audrey Hepburn had a brief career, I can't think of another.
No. Nate Fryman takes a look at it. It's strike 1 to Nate. He's hit .333, 5 for 15. With 3 runs batted in. He has a pair of doubles. Rule 5 pick from the San Diego Padre organization. Big strapping first sackler who had a nice year at AA San Antonio last year. It's going to be fun to watch him advance through the month of March here and try to make this club.
You know, the comparison is just too much in my face to leave. I grew up in the LA area, and the Dodgers had a young kid by the name of Frank Howard.
Oh, Hondo.
That showed up on the scene, and he turned out to be pretty good.
True.
And this is about the way Frank Howard looked when he first kind of came on the big league scene.
Yeah, now that you bring it up.
Yeah.
Struck him out. That's out number 1.
It's not like Fryman needs to fill out. He's pretty sturdy in the legs. But Frank Howard filled out and became even more of a power threat through the years. This kid is known as a very good hitter to go along with his power. That fooled on the breaking ball.
Jorge Rondon with the strikeout. Now Brandon Laird. Laird's come in to play third base. He hit a grand slam in yesterday's game as the Astros beat the Yankees 7-6 rather. There's ball 1 to Brandon. Did you see the pregame interview with Sarah Eckert and Fryman?
Yeah, it looked like your basic Mutt and Jeff job. Sarah, I hate to say it, but grow up, will you?
Oh. There's Laird from yesterday.
Riding it out to right center field, and that's kind of where the bombs have been going with the prevailing wind somewhat in that direction. But that was enjoyed very much by the teammates.
It's a shot toward left center field. Extra bases for Laird. He continues to sting the ball this spring. Heading into second base. Grand slam yesterday, double today.
His back shoulder got through this swing and ball so well. Look at just driving it through. Head staying down, drive through the baseball. That's good stuff.
He's now 4 for 9 this spring with a homer, 4 runs batted in.
That'll impress.
Well, he has done that. And as of right now, he's being mentioned in very strong terms to be on that opening day roster. Still a lot of distance to go until we get there. George Springer's up and batting for the first time. He came in to pinch run and stole a base on the first pitch. He has 2 homers. He's driven in 7 runs. And that's a total that is eye-popping through only 7 games.
Leading American League hitters in RBIs. 2 home runs coming in 1 ball game. 1 to right field, right center, and the other going the other direction.
His slugging percentage is .500.
That'll work.
Fouled away for a 1-ball, 1-strike count.
It doesn't always happen. You come into a camp and there's a name, 2 or 3 that people will throw about and say this is a guy you need to watch. Well, the first name that everybody's talked about, George Springer, has fulfilled. I mean, expectations may have come up short in terms of what this guy is showing so far.
From the University of Connecticut. Into center field for a hit. Laird is being stopped at third. And there's a single for Springer. This guy's fun to watch, isn't he?
It's great stuff. And, you know, you'd expect with a base hit to drive in a man from second base, but that little soft looper just out of the reach of the second baseman forces the runner to hold momentarily. Looked like Springer got tied up a bit, but still gets his knock.
George Springer continuing to attract a lot of attention in this camp. And 2 years ago, the Astros' first-round pick, trying to make that quick advance through the minor leagues.
I wonder if some general managers have around Major League Baseball made a call yet into the Houston camp saying, hey, you know what, maybe could we talk about this Springer guy?
End of conversation.
Yeah. Now let's move on. What else you want to talk about?
Strike to Rene Garcia.
I don't imagine Jeff Luhnow is going to be compelled to discuss that one very far.
No, he's been in the business of accumulating young talent, not getting rid of it. Foul back and it snowballs, 2 strikes. It's really exciting to see a George Springer progress through an organization quickly. But he comes from a strong college background, and that will help a player sometimes to move quicker through an organization. George is 23 years old. He was the 11th overall pick in 2011.
10 teams messed up.
It's only his 3rd pro season. Garcia takes that one for a ball, and it's 1-2.
Those drafts are always fun to look through a handful of years later when the guys that make it have a chance to get through the minor leagues and establish themselves a bit on the big league level. You get a chance to look back and see, well, why didn't they draft this guy?
Oh, easy to do that.
Yeah.
Garcia is 23 years old. He's from San Juan, Puerto Rico. This one foul. And the Astros drafted him in the 35th round in 08. Last year, Rene played at Lancaster most of the season and a few at-bats at AA Corpus Christi. Max Stassi, who came in the trade with the Oakland A's, the same trade that brought Chris Carter, Brad Peacock to the Astros for Jed Lowry and Fernando Rodriguez, has had surgery for a sports hernia. So Stassi's going to miss several weeks at the outset of the season. That was something that bothered him last year as well. And probably a relief that he got that taken care of now after playing hurt last year. He's 21 years old. So the Astros are starting to acquire some catching depth, but that will have to wait a little bit as far as Stassi going back on the field again this year.
I think every organization has some names that they really want to watch closely over a minor league campaign. I think the Astros have a bunch.
They really do. Their organization is ranked 4th right now by some of the experts. A chillier day here today and expected to remain the same for another day or two. Chopped slowly to third. There's Jackson unable to come up with it, and Laird scores. The Astros trail now 8-5. Jackson charging but unable to make the pickup on the Garcia ground ball.
It's a base hit on that high chop and a very tough play at third.
That gives Garcia the RBI, and the Astros pull to within 3. They get the potential tying run at the plate for switch hitting catcher Jason Jaramillo. Although he's a catcher, he's DHing Garcia.
What do you mean, although he's a catcher?
Did you ever DH, Ash?
No, but I don't think that qualifies the although there.
All right. Strike that from the record then. He takes a look at that one. Jaramillo runs the count to 2 balls, 2 strikes. 2 balls, no strikes, rather. Jason's had some time in the big leagues. After coming from Oklahoma State, he's been in the Phillies organization, the Pirates. Time called by Hunter Wendelstedt. So now that you're back in camp as an Astro again, Ash, is it feeling natural for you?
Yeah, more and more so. It has always felt natural to be back with the Astros. That's home territory for me. But I'm really feeling my way around, trying to learn all these star-looking young players.
It's probably totally different for you in that sense of there's been such a turnover in the organization. A lot to learn.
Certainly has been that. As soon as you asked that question, by the way, the fans really started to voice displeasure.
Jaramillo unable to catch up with that high heat from Rondon. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, there's an awful lot to learn in a case like this. The last 2 years, this organization with so many changes, not only the guys in uniform, but people in the front office. So we need spring training. That's looped up the middle, and it makes it through into center field. That'll load the bases. Springer broke back. He wasn't sure that ball was going to get through, and that would allow him only to get to third then on the hit up the middle by Jaramillo.
It's a basic seeing eye soft liner.
Yeah, so soft that Springer really couldn't take that risk to head for third, could he?
You want to score when you're given the opportunity to do so, but on a ball where you can wind up with the double play to kill a rally, you just can't afford to make that mistake on the bases. I think Springer did exactly what the coaches would say is right.
Yeah, he talks with the third base coach, Dave Tremblay, about it. Now bases loaded, 1 out. Well, especially trailing 8-5 here in the 7th inning. Can't afford a base running mistake there. So this gives Paredes a chance to come up with a big hit. And it's ball 1 to him. Brandon Barnes on deck. Paredes walked in the 6th inning. Well, Porter was telling the media today he's figuring on having a long man as a reliever. In other words, somebody who could pitch several innings in any given game as a relief pitcher to try to take the load off the others in the bullpen. This fly ball will back up the center fielder, and Springer's tagging at third to make it 8-6. And also here's the tag at second base. So an 8-6 ball game as Paredes gets a sacrifice fly for out number 2.
I'll say this, that was a good swing with the bases loaded. That was one of those swings that gives you a chance. You don't always, because you had a good swing, come up with a hit, but driving a run in the process, keep inching closer. Watch this hack, yeah. Took the good swing, and that's, we could have been talking about home run on that swing just as easily as a fly ball for the sac fly.
Now a 2-run lead. Runners at first and third for Brandon Barnes. Barnes homered in the 3rd. He's 1 for 3. Jake Elmore's on deck. Cardinals have bullpen action going. That's strike 1.
You like these messy scorecards in the course of a spring game?
Yeah. It's not spring training without a messy scorecard. What happened to the pitchers are ahead of the hitters early in spring training theory?
Well, not on a chilly day following a nice, pleasant, warm day.
Okay. All right, we'll have to keep stats on that then, too. No balls, 2 strikes.
Yesterday was gorgeous today.
It was.
On the chilly side.
Yeah, but still playable.
Yeah, it is. It's turned out that way.
What's your favorite statistic in baseball?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to mess up. I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. this morning. My eyes are going to get really big. And man, I messed up on that one with Browning.
Number of pizzas consumed during a 9-inning game?
Oh, that's Charlie Kerfeld and I have tried to work that one out. Well, oh, I know there's something better than that. I'm not a big fan of saves. I know that. The way they are handed out right now. But I don't think that's my big one, and it's a little early in the spring, Brownie, for the big quality questions.
Do you like WAR, wins above replacement?
I'm not huge into all of that stuff yet. There's probably merit.
Strikeout ends it here in the Astros' 7th inning. They narrow the gap, coming up with 2 runs on 4 hits, and they now trail 8-6.
If you would
Eight to 6, the Cardinals lead the Astros. Top of the 8th, a moment away. Come out to Minute Maid Park tomorrow, March 1st through Sunday, March 3rd. Well, today's March 1st. Anyway, today through Sunday for the Astros Foundation College Classic. The tournament will feature ranked teams, including North Carolina, Rice University, and Texas A&M. Get your tickets now by calling 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit Astros.com. Bo Porter's club coming back with 2 there in the 7th inning to trail now by a couple, going with Reiner Cruz, pitcher number 6 for the 8th inning, and Doug Brocail would love to see Reiner, a power-throwing right-hander, mow down the Cardinals very quickly here in the 8th inning.
I was thinking about that question you gave me, Brownie, about least favorite stat. You know, I really do, and you mentioned WAR. Very standard stat anymore, but the OPS, I think that's the one that means the most to me. A lot of people really like on-base percentage, and some people like slugging. I tend to lean toward the slugging over the on-base, but I like the combination of the two. And I think it tells you a lot about the offensive player. It tells you nothing about the defensive side of the game, and you wouldn't learn anything about Mike Trout, for example, from last year based on just the offensive number. Mike Trout was really that complete player, and maybe WAR leads to all that.
Right. Reiner Cruz versus Shane Robinson. Paul Clemens went an inning and a third. He allowed 3 hits, 3 runs, no earned runs, with no walks, no strikeouts. Josh Zeid, 1 clean inning, 3 ground ball outs. And now it's Cruz, pitcher number 6. And this went out to second. And the throw on to first. 1 pitch, 1 out as Martinez took care of it.
I am, however, a fan in spring training of good at bat young man, but hang with him.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets a nice quick out.
Cardinals have done a lot of hitting today, but they have been afforded the opportunities to hit more because of Houston errors. Ramon Flores, the batter. And there's strike 1. So of their 8 runs, 5 have been unearned. They had back-to-back 3-run innings in the 5th and 6th, and of those 6 runs, only 1 was earned, with Houston errors figuring in each frame. Fouled away, and it snowballs 2 strikes. Colton Wong, the batter. And he was a first-round pick from Hawaii. Reiner Cruz, with those vital stats, coming off his rookie season, obtained as a Rule 5 pick last year, and would figure to fit into that Houston bullpen. But it's not to say he's guaranteed a spot there by any means.
One of the upcoming WBC guys?
Yep. Reiner's 26 years old. He Pitched 52 times last year at a 6.05 ERA. He had been with the Mets when the Astros took him in the Rule 5 draft. He's a hard thrower. He sometimes is victimized by dropping down his arm slot a little bit, and that ball can ride up and in on a right-handed batter when he does that. So he is certainly not a comfortable at bat for a right-handed hitter when he falls into that difficult situation.
What's the longest period of time a player could be gone from his Major League spring training camp based on being part of that WBC?
I am not sure. It's a good question. But, you know, a lot of guys feel compelled, A, to take the extra money, B, to try to play for their country. They're still on a schedule. They're working out. They're doing similar things to what they would be doing if they stayed with their team, but probably not exactly the same. And the thought being, you know, if they're trying to make a major league club, unlike a Carlos Beltran or somebody like that, it might be better to stay with their club than to play in the WBC.
Yeah, I think that'd be a tough challenge for a young player who's on the cusp of getting to the big leagues. Which way do I go here? Some big league clubs, I imagine, would tell a guy, go ahead and do what your heart says and it won't hurt you here. I don't think that can always be the case.
Bo Porter has encouraged his players to play in the WBC, and Jose Veras will play for the Dominican, Xavier Cedeno for Puerto Rico, Reiner Cruz for Spain, and Chase Wan Lin for Taiwan. Not sure what the connection for Reiner and Spain are. There's a fly ball to right center field. Springer over for the catch, 2 outs, but that's kind of a liberal way to stock the various teams. Spain obviously not a big baseball playing country, so I'm not sure what the rules are, but there's something like, you know, if you have any heritage at all in your family going back to maybe grandfather, somebody from that country, that you could play for that country. There's Springer calling for and catching it in front of Jimmy Paredes. Audrey Perez, the batter. And Perez takes ball 1. So, for instance, if you had some Scottish heritage, Ash, would you opt to play for Scotland? I don't think Scotland is involved in the WBC.
Not at this stage of things.
All right. Maybe a few decades from now, the Scottish might be involved in the WBC. A little roller out to short. And here's Demmel taking care of it, and or Elmore taking care of it, and that's a 1-2-3 8th inning, and it's 8-6 Cardinals. Cardinals lead at 8-6. Get suited up for spring training at the official online shop of the Astros with the largest selection of authentic spring training gear, including clubhouse caps and t-shirts, jerseys, sweatshirts, and more. Get set for spring at the official source, theastros.com shop. And here's a flashback look at somebody you might want to remember.
The door on the Dodgers, giving the Astros
back to the 1980 Astros and the ground ball to Dave Berkman to win that one-game playoff at Los Angeles. Joe Niekro and Alan Ashby collaborating.
Look at that hair. Oh, to have some of that back for transplant purposes at this stage of things.
Yeah, it would be nice.
And I'm just talking about the mustache.
You think he could grow one like that again?
Do you think I'd be willing to, I think would be the question. No.
You know, we have a facial hair policy up here in the booth. You can grow all you want to if you can.
Well, that hair that was flopping out of the hat, though, boy, I could use some of that.
Yeah. Could come in handy. Cardinals leading at 8-6 as the Astros come up here in the 8th inning.
Did you see Joe Niekro there putting away the Dodgers so the Astros would go on that night, get on a plane, head to Philadelphia, and start a postseason that would see the Astros get ahead 2-1 over the Phillies in a best-of-5 series, come back to the Astrodome, and see the Astros lead twice in the 8th inning, and one of those with Nolan Ryan on the hill, and lose both ball games and have the Phillies go on and win the World Series.
That hurt. Now Eduardo Sanchez coming in for the Redbirds, trying to protect this lead of 8-6. He's been one of the dependable bullpen guys for them the last few years. And the Astros have other ideas. They'd love to stir up trouble for him, come from behind, and win another one. They had a big inning yesterday against the New York Yankees. They scored 6 in one frame. They've had that explosive capability, and they've put that on display a few times. We'll see if they can ruffle Mr. Sanchez here with Jake Elmore leading it off. Elmore made that good play to end the last inning. Elmore drew a walk in the 6th inning. That was his first time up. Glad to have you with us today on Comcast Sportsnet for game number 2 of the 10 games scheduled to be televised in spring training for the Astros this year. Sanchez last year had a high ERA, 6.60. The year before he had a 1.80.
Ball one.
That's ball one. He is pitcher number 6 for the club managed by the hitting coach Mike Aldretti. Mike Matheny not making the trip today due to illness. Two balls, no strikes. Astros have out hit the Redbirds 10-7. Houston has committed both the errors in the game. That works for a strike for Sanchez. Eduardo's from Venezuela. Jason Mott, the Cardinal closer, gave up 2 hits and 2 runs in his 1 inning. He worked the 5th today. Foul back. Chris Carter hit the long 2-run homer off him, and that's one of the highlights of the day for the Astros. The Astros now, with 2 homers today, have hit 12 for the spring. This is game number 8. That's a nice pace.
Yeah, power could be a big part of what the Astros rely on offensively this year.
Strike 3 call. Elmore caught looking. Sanchez with a strikeout for out number 1. Well, we were talking about that with Bo Porter yesterday. It's a pitch by Sanchez.
Pretty well spotted right there.
Yeah. About knee high. Martinez the batter. He bounced into a double play. Just the power threat that an opposing pitcher would have to deal with, or an opposing manager. The threat of that power can affect the way a game is managed sometimes. If there's a Chris Carter coming up, we'll say, with 2 men on, down by 3 in the late innings.
And who's on deck behind Chris Carter?
Exactly.
And does he apply that threat as well and force the opposition to pitch to Carter or whoever it may be in the lineup? The Astros last in the league and last in the major leagues in runs a year ago, and so there's a lot of work to be done on that side of things.
They're going into the high-powered American League West, where those clubs can really put together some big innings. The Angels, the Rangers, hard-hitting clubs. Oakland had an outstanding year, won the division with very good pitching.
Well, and those teams do pitch well out west.
That's true, too. There's a deep drive to right field, and whoa, what a play. As Robinson ran it down. Terrific concentration as he closed in on that fence and snagged it on the warning track for out number 2. Martinez hit it hard.
That hurts, but that is a classic case of nice at bat, young man, and hang with him. You really do have to keep your head up and just keep getting those good swings. It's great defense.
Really was. Well done by Robinson. Nate Fryman, his first time up, struck out in the 7th inning. He hit for average and power in the AA ranks last year at San Antonio.
You know, it was John Gibbons, who is now the manager once again with the Toronto Blue Jays, who was Fryman's manager at AA in San Antonio. And apparently recently, I think it was Robert Ford, now in the broadcast booth, the radio side for the Astros, had a chat with Gibbons, and Gibbons had high praise for what Fryman did last year.
He pumps this one out toward the left field line, and in the corner there's a sliding play, and he caught it. Chambers coming up with it on a sliding play in the left field corner. Terrific catch by Adrian Chambers. And so 2 stunning outfield plays really helped the Redbirds here in the 8th inning. They lead at 8-6. Cardinals lead at 8-6, and they're trying to protect that lead with some stellar glove work. On a line drive to right field is Shane Robinson making the catch on Martinez. And then one to left field by Fryman. Looked like extra bases, but Adrian Chambers came over.
I'm not so sure this ball doesn't get out of here, minus the wind that's blowing around toward that right field side. But what a pair of defensive plays. And you turn it around, the Astros have had their defensive woes today, leading to unearned runs, and really the difference in the ball game.
Yeah. Now Josh Fields comes in out of the Astros bullpen. A Rule 5 pick from Hull, Georgia, in the University of Georgia, where he had 41 saves to set an SEC record. First round pick of Seattle in 08. He was the 20th player drafted, then traded to Boston, and the Astros picked him up in the Rule 5 draft over the winter. And he has had some issues with control, but this spring has been throwing well. And now Chambers, who made that stellar play, leads it off here in the 9th inning, taking strike one. What a day for him. A 3-run homer and then that sliding catch. Bouncing that one up there. 1 ball, 1 strike for Josh Fields. Last year Fields pitched at Pawtucket 10 times. At AA Portland, 32 appearances and 8 saves there with a 2.62 ERA for Fields. Could be a late bloomer. Bunted and it bounced high to Fields. He throws over to Fryman, 1 out. It would not be a stretch to see this man pitching effectively in the Astros bullpen in the late innings this year. Even though he would be a rookie Rule 5 pick, I think that he probably has displayed the kind of stuff and seems to have improved his control that he's a very strong consideration to fit into a slot like that in the bullpen this year.
Not a baby, 27 years of age, so he's one of those guys you want to make probably a rather quick decision on.
2 down on the catch by Paredes in right. Now 2 outs in the 9th inning. The Astros want to keep it to within 2. And they would love to walk off the field winners again with a 9th inning comeback. Justin Christian's the batter. Strike 1 for Fields.
That's a good looking arm. Up over the top, and looks like he can air it out pretty well.
Christian 4 for 11 in spring training. It's a 1-1 count for Fields.
Over the top curveball, having a little bit of a time here and brief outing, trying to throw that for a strike, but looks like a good one. You see the life on that fastball.
1-2. This is Fields' second appearance of the spring. He has an ERA of 0. He worked an inning and a third. Did not allow a hit. Had a walk and no strikeouts in his debut. Ryman takes a look at it. It drifts back off the screen. Still a 1-ball, 2-strike count. Action on a couple of different fronts. Minute Maid Park hosting the Astros Foundation College Classic this weekend. Good chance for you to come on out and see some of the top schools in the college ranks like Rice University. And then right here, the Astros on TV. Next game coming up Thursday, Astros and Nationals. 2 balls, 2 strikes, Bo Porter's former club. It'll be a nice reunion with Bo and Davey Johnson. Look at one of the top clubs in the National League coming up. That'll be 11:30 for the pregame show next Thursday.
And Davey Johnson had the guts coming out of spring training last year to say, look, if this club of ours, the Nationals, doesn't win this year and get themselves into postseason play, they probably should let me go.
That is a gutsy statement.
Yeah. And they came through.
Christian strikes out. That's a 1-2-3 9th inning for Josh Fields. We go to the bottom of the 9th, and it's 8-6 St. Louis. There is a look at the line score, 8-6 St. Louis. The Astros come up now in the bottom of the 9th inning. And Victor Marte is on the mound for the Redbirds. He'll be pitcher number 7. Eduardo Sanchez had a 1-2-3 8th inning. And on the way back down to Jupiter on that bus ride, if justice is served, Mr. Sanchez will be serving probably a couple of those well-wrapped turkey sandwiches to his right and left fielders for those outstanding catches.
Isn't that the truth? That was some mid-season outstanding defense in the previous inning when the Astros tried to get something going.
Yes. Marte with 80 career pitching innings. He's walked 41, struck out 62. He's facing Brandon Laird. Brandon has a double in his only at bat today. That was in the 7th inning, and he scored. The Astros about hit the Cardinals 10-7. Looking at ball one, Laird gets in front in the count. George Springer is on deck, so the scene is set.
You looking for the tie ball game?
Yes. You know what's inevitable here, don't you, Ash?
You're talking EI? Extra innings?
Extra innings. Sarah has Mr. Springer lined up for a post-game appearance.
Why not? He just keeps getting it done.
And a player to be named later also joining Sarah. 2 balls and a strike.
I'm always anxious to see who that player is.
Well, the game is still not over yet.
A lot of big deals with a player to be named later.
Yeah.
Sarah's got one of those.
Laird has worked the count his way. 3 balls and a strike now. He's put together several really good at-bats this spring. He's looking comfortable at the plate. Fouls that one for a 3-ball, 2-strike count.
The Little League days are coming back for me.
They are coming back.
Yeah.
You would never taunt the batter with a chant like that, would you?
Taunt you a second time.
And Laird chops it foul, hanging alive at 3 balls, 2 strikes.
I think Sarah needs to do investigative reporting and find out who exactly is doing this taunting.
Yeah, she can check the microphone placement and find someone very close to one of those microphones. That should narrow it down. That's a rock to left center field. Let's see on the carry on this one. It is carrying, and there's another home run for Brandon Laird. 2 in 2 days. Grand slam yesterday, double and homer today for Brandon Laird.
He's not only good, but he's pretty smart. That wind has turned around a bit toward right center and therefore not into the teeth of this ball. And wow, impressive stuff by Brandon Laird. See how he does it. Gets a fastball up through the heart of the zone. He knows he has crushed this baseball. You can tell by the little hop coming out. But will he be able to get it through a wind that has existed most of the day?
Now a 1-run lead George Springer takes as Laird has just delivered home run number 2 of the spring. 1 ball, no strikes to Springer. Springer pinch ran in the 5th inning, stole a base. He singled in the 7th and scored. It's a 1 ball, 1 strike count. Marte missing with that one, falls behind. 2-1 now. Rene Garcia's on deck. .571, a gaudy spring average with a .700 on base percentage. Springer now has a 3-1 pitch coming next. Springer last year at Class A Lancaster hit .316. He had 22 homers, 82 runs batted in there. Moved up to Corpus Christi, hitting .219 there with a couple of homers and 5 driven in. He stole 32 bases in those 2 stops combined in 40 tries. And this one on the left side, fielded by Jackson, and he gets it. 1 out.
Yeah, he gets down the line well. All the talk about the speed that Springer possesses, really wanted to see him come out of the box right there and go down the line, and he moves it well, and he's a big guy.
Now Rene Garcia, he had the infield hit and an RBI on it in the 7th inning. He's 1 for 2. Jason Jaramillo on deck. Strike to Garcia. Well, speaking of catchers, we saw an old friend in Cardinal camp today, one of their catchers, former Astro J.R. Tolles. He's not gotten in the game today. He had an 8 RBI game as a Houston Astro. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Those guys are looking for an 8 RBI month.
Yeah.
String those together. I did all right.
1-2. Seeing the fans having fun today. It's a nice day in Central Florida. A bit on the chilly side, but nonetheless, they've seen a lot of players, a lot of frontliners. Full day of baseball. Hit sharply on a line to left field, and Garcia keeps it going for the Astros with a 1-out single, hit number 2 of the inning. We'll get the potential winning run to the plate, and Jaramillo will get a pinch runner with Delino DeShields Jr. going in at first base, and it gets a little more interesting now.
Good looking swing. You get that speed of DeShields on base, you'd have to figure that he's going to be running. DeShields surprises me a little bit. He's not a big, tall guy, but when you hear about 100 stolen bases, I don't know that I think about a guy that's this kind of burly looking.
But that's the season he had last year, and we'll see if he's going here with Jaramillo batting. Showed no signs of it there as the ball's fouled away for strike 1. Well, George Springer came off the bench in the 5th inning, pinch running for Brett Wallace, and he stole second on the first pitch. Jaramillo's come up with a couple of singles. Slowly hit bouncer to shortstop. There's a throw into right field. DeShields gets up and heads for third base. And Dave Tremblay will hold him there. And it's 1st and 3rd with 1 out. And the Astros trailing by 1 here in the 9th inning.
Well, that poor defense comes up and bites the Cardinals now. The Astros have been guilty of it a couple of times today. Led to some big innings for St. Louis. That was not likely to get 2, but maybe the speed of DeShields factors in on this play, although it shouldn't factor on the poor throw.
Right. Colton Wong wound up landing on the base runner. That throw went awry. So now it's 1st and 3rd. Jimmy Paredes the batter. Paredes has a walk and a sacrifice fly in this game, and a sacrifice fly here would tie it. Infielders move in about halfway up the middle. And it's strike 1 as Victor Marte tries to hold it together for St. Louis. Ryan Jackson Shortstop threw that ball away. This one gets by the catcher, and here's DeShields coming in, and he ties it. It is 8-8 now on the wild pitch by Marte here in the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Astros come back to tie it at 8 with Jaramillo going to second.
Yeah, they are turning into the spring version of a Cardiac Kids bunch, coming back and winning ball games. It's a ball that just scoots on by.
Shields coming home with a tying run, and now the potential winning runs at second base with a 1-1 count. Brandon Barnes on deck. Paredes is able to check his swing. The appeal goes to third, and that is the ruling. Check swing. 2 balls and a strike. A home run by Laird made it a 1-run game, leading off the bottom of the 9th inning. Then a ground out, a single by Garcia, an error on Jackson, and a wild pitch allowed DeShields to score the tying run. This one in the air to left center field, and that's caught for out number 2.
Neither team with a man throwing in the bullpen. You suppose that indicates that one way or another we may be done here after 9?
It probably does, Ash. Brandon Barnes will come up and try to win it. Barnes homered in the 3rd inning. He's 1 for 4 today. Bobby Grossman, the pinch runner at second base. But the catcher might have gotten crossed up. Yeah, he's going right out to the mound. Perez. 1-1 to Barnes. He reacted.
Always like a catcher that has the smarts to go out to the mound after making a pitch look bad back there. Make sure you lay it on the pitcher.
Elmore's on deck. That's in for a strike, and it's 1-1 to Barnes. 12 hits for the Astros now, 7 for the Cardinals. And he fouls it. 1-2. Sometimes by mutual agreement the teams walk off after a tie if it is tied after 9 innings, because the visiting team sometimes exhausts its pitching staff through the 9 innings. We see J.R. Tolles getting loose on the Cardinal bench right now. But as Ash pointed out, nobody warming up in their bullpen. Ground ball to the left side, and there's the play, but no throw, and now he throws behind the runner, Grossman. He's in a run down, and he's tagged out.
That's an awfully big play in a couple of ways. If this ball gets through, the Astros win it, as Brandon Barnes would, in the end, be the hero on the day, and that's not an easy play at all.
It's going to end in a tie. 8-8 as Grossman is tagged out after he rounds third. Right back. The Astros have really battled. They pulled out a tie in this one, as the final through 9 innings is the Cardinals 8 and the Astros 8. Spring training continues Thursday. The Astros host the Nationals next week. Coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. Now stick around for Astros post-game live. For Alan Ashby and Sarah Eckert, Bill Brown, this has been a production of Comcast Sportsnet.